I think I'm gonna have to. It's so annoying. That means I'm gonna have to redo that because the link I just posted is wrong. That's annoying. No, that's not the right one. Let's try that again. Come on. There we go. It's so annoying. That means I'm gonna have to redo that because the link I just posted is wrong. That's annoying. No, that's not the right one. Let's try that again. Come on. There we go. It's so annoying. That means I'm gonna have to redo that. The link I just posted is wrong. That's annoying. No, that's not the right one. Let's try that again. Okay, that goes there. Hey everybody. You notice I'm wearing my podcasting headphones a day early. That's because, due to scheduling reasons, the podcast is today. It's on Saturday instead of Sunday. But that's alright. We're here a day early, but we still got... Okay, and then we're going to delete. 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 Come on. There we go. Okay. Okay. And now we turn down the volume there. And now I return to my conversation with Jordan. Hello, Jordan. How are you?
Hello. I see that.
Now they can see me.
I think I see. Hold on. No, that's the wrong video though. Oh, there's one now.
There's one who?
With the correct thumbnail.
With the correct thumbnail. Timer, Jordan. Timer.
Yeah, I hear us both.
Let's do it. We gotta do a little dance. We'll stretch to the left.
Ah.
All right, and 3, 2, firepower 1. This podcast is brought to you by the Arte Media Pantheon. Please head to artemedia.org to see plenty of podcasts from our great friends. And if you would like to start your own podcast, they can provide you with the tools and resources to do so there. That's artemedia.org. ARETE media.org. On with the show, Jordan?
On with the time traveled into the day before Sunday show to answer Arete Media. So you're time traveling? Lol.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even...
We time traveled from tomorrow when we normally do this onto Saturday to do it on Saturday instead.
Oh my god, I should totally put this on private and then post it tomorrow and be like, we're from the future. We came from the past.
Ooh.
I didn't even think about that. I was just like, I need to change the day. It was not thematic at all. I don't think things out. It's all made up on the fly.
Chaos incarnate.
Chaos incarnate. On today's show, welcome to Spurr of the Moment Podcast, everybody. I'm your host, Justin Spurr. As always, I'm joined by my co-host. He's incomparable. He's Jordan, everybody.
I am incomparable. I am Jordan. And Arete Media says, so tomorrow is yesterday.
Tomorrow is yesterday. Or is yesterday tomorrow. Nobody knows. Nobody can tell you. On today's show, we have the news, including why the guy who made The Flash thinks The Flash failed. Spoiler alert, his reasoning is very funny. Mortal Kombat, Conan the Barbarian isn't Mortal Kombat. The Until Dawn trailer came out, and guess what? It's not Until Dawn. The Daredevil trailer came out, and it looks alright. And then later on, we're going to be talking about time travel stuff, because we've come from the future, which is tomorrow. We've come from tomorrow to tell you about what we thought yesterday when I watched the movies I watched for this show.
Wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey.
Timey-wimey. And also, I want to start the show with some big old comments response time, because And thank you once again to Allie from Literature and Lingerie for dropping on by last week.
Yeah, she made us sound smart enough that people actually wanted to respond to us.
Absolutely. And her video I put up of her Harry Potter and this and that those books are way worse than you remember is performing exceedingly well on our channel. We have had a plethora of excellent comments and engagement, and I'm not going to read the comments because they are very long. Jordan, how many of the comments did you read?
I read them all, and they're essays.
They're essays. They're multi paragraph long essays. So I'm
In
gonna
response, in response to Allie's multi-paragraph essay and like statements on here, which is why I said she made us seem smart enough that people wanted to
right.
respond.
It's like that poor gentleman who subscribed thinking we were an ASMR channel. I'm really sorry. I'm so sorry about that.
We're not. We're not an ASMR channel. We don't do ASMR.
Sorry. Okay.
It's not. It's not a thing that we do.
But I wanted to just go through some of the comments. Allie's done a great job of responding to them, but I figured we'll just do them on the show because it's fun. Um, One comment from Ranting and Raving 4193 says that they love the discussion, but they don't know that they agree with the tonal shift. They would argue that J.K. Rowling tried to make the books grow with their audience, which I don't agree with. I do think that I think it's less I will say it was less jarring to me this time around because maybe I was looking for a bit more darkness. But when I
I mean,
initially read it, it was definitely jarring.
yeah. So here's the thing. Um, as an adult looking back on this, I don't think there's that much of a tonal shift, really. Certainly not a. I don't think it's very jarring. Maybe there is a bit of one, but I don't think it's very jarring because right from the beginning, we have men who wants to murder children, and then the second one we have Snake, which is like wanting to kill children. And then the third one is just that's got Dementors, which are like about as dark as Harry Potter gets.
Yeah,
So really, like if the tonal change came out anywhere, it was with the third one.
yeah, I guess it's because I and the fourth one the fifth one is sort of where you start to develop. It's like, okay, it's fascism. We're doing fascism. Where it's like the first three are like, ooh, it's magical boy adventure books, and then it becomes, oh, it's an allegory
Sure,
for
but
wizard fascism.
but the thing that we've
Ooh.
always said was jarring was the darkness of the later ones and the like the and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
I will
And
agree.
and,
It's
and
always kind of
I
there,
just yeah, my thing is that it's always been there, and to me the jarring point would be the third one
right?
because of the Dementors.
Um, And then commenter Kylie the Celt made a case that Hermione's actions had ableism and colonialism involved in them with the house elves. She says that while her intentions may be noble, in about there may be noble intentions about her campaign. Um, Sorry, it's also much in the way the indigenous people were treated by the dominant cultures. Whilst Ron's viewpoint is simplistic, it's also valid. Freeing house elves without their knowledge or consent would harm them. Hermione, by her own actions, unprepared to respect how these purports to assist the field themselves, she dubs them uneducated and brainwashed, basically saying that she dehumanizes them by suggesting that they're not smart enough to know that what they want is for their own good. Um,
So here's what I'll say to that. And I seem to remember Allie saying something similar to this in response. Hermione, it's an example of Hermione's a 14-year-old girl and her intentions are pure.
yeah,
She means well,
exactly.
but there's a lot of if we're looking at this as if it was a real society, there would be a lot of discussion and nuance that would have to go into this. Especially considering in the book, I've listened to the book since then, so I can talk on this a little more. Um, in the book, she keeps like laying hats around hidden under stuff. What?
Oh, does my screen keep flickering green?
Yes, it absolutely does for me on Discord.
That's so weird. Why
Uh,
is that doing that? Sorry, keep talking. Keep talking. I'm listening. I'm
um,
just gonna flick off and on for a second. Keep talking.
in yeah, in the book, it's not even like she like openly tries to. I mean, at a certain point, she does when she goes into the kitchen, and the elves are all kind of like, "Okay, time for you to leave now. Go away,"
Yeah,
because they don't want it, and she doesn't respect that they don't want it, and starts hiding the hats and stuff everywhere. Which, at a certain point, the other elves refuse to clean the Gryffindor common room, and it's all Dobby
yeah,
because she keeps trying to trick them and not respecting the fact that they don't want what she wants for them. But she, and this is a one of her character traits, she ultimately always thinks she knows better
yeah. Exactly.
because she's 14.
Yeah. And then one of my personal favorite comments from Subsilius, which was just it starts off with this with like the air that we were being like unfair to J.K. Rowling, and it just goes into being like we were too unfair, and essentially
We were
blatantly accuses her of we weren't unfair
we were
enough, we were too
yeah, I was gonna
nice.
say we were
Um,
too nice.
and she basically like straight up plagiarized ideas from other stories, and we were just way too nice. And then it ended with love in the chat, which I loved every comment that ended with that. I really appreciated that. But yeah,
Yeah, a
yeah,
lot of the
we
comments were definitely ones where it's like I started off reading them being like, okay, and then by the end they were like, yeah, no, we're loving the like you guys are doing great, and I was like, oh,
yeah.
this went surprisingly
Right. I
positive.
was like, okay, okay, let's see how this plays out. All right, and then I was like, oh, okay, yeah, because I mean, yeah, the thing about J.K. Rowling in the Harry Potter series is you can make the discussion about all the bigotry that's and all the shittiness that's in those books, but I think there's more. Not to suggest that Ali isn't, but I would suggest I'm not. There's much better people who have made better videos discussing those topics. I wanna make the guffaws.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm poking fun.
Yeah.
And to be fair, Allie probably would agree. She suggested a few.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely she did. I think I put in the video, I put a link to the one she suggested. And I think it's in the description of that video. You can check it out. I did listen to a bit of it, and I will probably finish it later. I listened to it while I was editing that video. And then the final comment, and then Ali did a wonderful job responding to it. I'm not going to get into it. If you want to read it, you can go to that video, leave a like, and you can read the comments themselves. The comment section is great. Everyone make good points. You can read all of their wonderful essays.
And you can watch the full video and then comment on it yourself.
Exactly. And you can watch the full podcast, and then also watch the Hunger Games video as well. Just really explore the channel is what I'm getting at. And then I just
Go through
want to
just go through all of our videos, watch them all, like them all, comment on them all,
right,
just
right.
every single one.
But you can start with
It's
the Harry
not too
Potter.
big of an ask.
You should start with the Harry Potter one. But no, finally, the final comment was from Allie herself, she wanted to mention that the one thing she didn't mention in that episode in that video was in the sixth movie was Tom Felton as angsty Draco Malfoy was phenomenal. Did an awesome job portraying the character and his emotions, his intense emotions, and that Ray Fiennes as Voldemort is phenomenal.
Which he is.
Which he is really really good.
I think most of the casting choices for for those movies, I like. They are pretty much exactly what I picture for the
There
characters.
isn't one of them I necessarily hate. Not really. I mean, there's a couple
No,
of them where I've always been like, and to be fair, as I've gotten older, my if the performance is good and what they're doing with the character is interesting, I'll be more forgiving of it. Unless it's bad. Sometimes it's bad, but there's
but
nothing
I can't
bad.
think of any really. I mean, I guess maybe Slughorn.
Yeah,
I'd maybe change
it's
Slughorn.
also just like my idea of like Wormtail is different, but I don't hate what they did with it. Same with Snape.
Yeah,
Snape is like different, but I think it was Allie who said you just love Alan Rickman so much, or maybe that was one of the comments that was like Alan Rickman makes you absolutely love that character.
or Gary Oldman as Sirius Black is another example
Yeah,
of that for me. He's not quite what I would have pictured, but he works.
right. Which makes it a shame his character. Anyway, we can't get back into Harry Potter. That's not what we're here for. We're here to get into the news. Jordan, hit the news theme. Also, that was the comment response Harry Potter follow-up video that this will inevitably become. I don't know why Discord keeps doing that. That's really weird. Sorry, people who watch this. Just periodically, you will see a green screen appear for some reason.
I don't think it's a green screen. To me, that indicates that maybe your camera isn't plugged in tight.
Oh, maybe. Hold on. Let's try it. Let's try fixing that temporary pause in the episode. Jordan, entertain the audience.
It's hard to dance when you're sitting down. So, yeah, I think the next news article is probably the Daredevil thing.
Whoa! Spoilers! Spoilers! It is. Well, it is now.
Um, I can't,
I'm
it
back
is
now.
now the Daredevil thing.
I mean, it wasn't necessarily, but it is now.
Okay.
Bam! That's how fluid the show is. Yeah, the trailer looks all right. It just kind of looks like the Netflix show. It just kind of looks like if you're into the Netflix show, you're gonna be into this. That's just kind of what it looks like. Pick it up
Yeah,
right where they left off, and I'm
I
okay
was
with
gonna
that.
say it was confusing to me because I was like, does the Kingpin know who Daredevil is?
yeah,
Is
yeah,
that something I should know?
yeah,
Because I didn't know that, and it made it confusing for
yeah.
me.
I didn't finish that show, but yeah, that's how the third season ends. He like beats him into submission, and then I think he goes to jail. The the
Okay,
the him being the Kingpin being the mayor thing, that's a result of the Echo show. That happened at
who's
the
Echo?
the show the character that was in Hawkeye that got the spinoff, the deaf one.
Oh, yeah, right.
At the end of
No, I didn't until this moment. Every time we go through this, because no, she's a super forgettable character, and I don't know why anybody would care.
yeah, well, at the end of that, apparently, to be fair, I've heard that show's all right, mostly off the back of Vincent D'Onofrio as the Kingpin.
Okay,
Um,
sure, but people also said Andor was good, and I just didn't care about
I didn't
Andor.
care about Andor, but that's at the end of that show is where the Kingpin becomes mayor. So in the trailer, that's why he's mayor.
Okay. Yeah,
Um,
I don't.
the only thing that
I'm
could possibly make me interested in that show, there's one thing and one thing only, and you know what it is, Jordan. Say it.
Spider-Man. Spider-Man
Saving,
swings around like he's Spider-Man.
oh, saving
Spins a web anywhere. Saving Daredevil 'cause he's lame. Look out! Here
Tom
comes the
Holland, Spider
Spider-Man.
Man. There we go. I got there. I got there. Tom Holland, Spider Man.
Man, we peeked the shit out of our mics. Nobody heard
I'm
that.
just, I'm just saying though. Like the thing, Spider Man is like Deadpool. Get Tom Holland, like give him $1 million, put him in a recording booth for like an afternoon, and just like have him do like voice cameos. Like just do that. Like just have him show up in the show for like half an episode. Then I'd be interested. Then I would be invested.
I mean, and you liked the Daredevil Netflix
I
show.
mean,
I didn't even much care for it.
I never finished it. But to be fair, I hated Iron Fist thoroughly. I think I've talked about this before. I hated Iron Fist. It thoroughly made me hate that show. It wasn't even just Iron Fist. It was the 1-2 punch of Iron Fist, and then Defenders just wasn't very good. And here's the thing. Did you know there's a second season of Iron Fist? No, neither
No,
did I. I learned this
no,
recently. I was like,
no, I
"There's a
didn't.
second season of that show." Same thing with Luke Cage. Apparently, in the second season, they eventually team up and they do because in the comics they're a group. They're like the Power Duo or something. Like they're a group that they team up, and they apparently do that in the second season of one of their shows. And apparently, the second season of Iron Fist is like way better, but I just couldn't be bothered. And
I feel like if you're a big fan of Luke Cage, Iron Fist, and the rest, that's exciting. I'm not, so that never was going to appeal to me.
Well, yeah, there's apparently though there's a third season of Daredevil, So I've also just never seen it, but I couldn't be bothered to finish it. Like this is like, yeah, man, there's some cool looking stuff in there, but I don't know. There's just nothing about it
but
that's really
but
getting me.
there's some cool looking stuff in there, but it's also Daredevils.
Yeah,
Who cares?
I don't know. I'm just never. Yeah, I've never been a big
He's
Daredevil guy.
just
He's just not a
no,
character that
he's
really.
doesn't do it for me.
I liked the first season of the show.
Also,
Although to be fair, I really
also,
like the Punisher though, the character.
also, he should be called Batman, and Batman should be Punisher, and Punisher should fuck off because nobody cares about him.
I mean, to be fair, they're all the same character because, well, in a sense, they're all kind of the same character because they were all at one point written by the same guy. And you just named all of the. So Daredevil is created by Frank Miller, and they're all a response to the fact that he got kicked off of Batman. That's why the Punisher exists. That's why the Punisher is basically Batman if Batman went too far. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Absolutely correct me if I'm wrong. I probably am, but I'm like pretty sure that's kind of what happened.
I just mean Daredevil should be Batman because he listens and he's blind like a bat.
Oh, you mean a name? You mean he should be big?
Yeah,
Oh, I think he's called Daredevil because he dresses like a devil.
I mean, but what does that have to do with being daring?
Well, I mean, just think probably based on the fact that it was probably made in like the 60s or 70s, and it was like Daredevil.
I don't know, man. I don't. It doesn't do it for me. Is I guess what I'm trying to
No,
say.
I've never been a
They
big
they would
Daredevil guy.
they would have to like have other New York crime fighting individuals show up on that show for me to be excited.
At one
And
point, they were like at one point Jessica Jones was gonna be in it, but then
oh
like,
no, no, I don't mean them. I mean like Johnny Storm flies by in the sky.
I mean, who
Or
knows?
Spider-Man swings through Hell's Kitchen, which he would never do because he respects Daredevil's territory and stays out of it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like I say, if I hear it's good, I'll give it a chance. Like I'm still gonna give. I think we might do a like Marvel stuff we haven't seen yet episode because I do want to watch Agatha and I'd like to tackle that show for this show. So maybe we'll come back to it like when it comes out. One of us will watch it, or we'll do the Marvel Netflix stuff. We'll squeeze that in there instead of movies. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's just I'm like it looks all right.
We'll see.
It looks all
We'll
right.
see. We'll see what the future
Um,
brings.
and then this was really interesting. So in more Marvel news, the Vision he's getting a show, Jordan. I don't know if you remember this called Vision Quest, and I believe it's about White Vision.
Oh, sorry. Oh, you mean that character that disappeared like 7 years ago that we haven't seen since?
Yeah, this
When
is
did WandaVision come out? Hold on, I actually need to cite that.
2020.
2020. Okay, 5 years ago. I was close.
You were close. I'm pretty sure it was 2020. Yeah, 'cause I'm pretty sure it was like mid-pandemic. Ooh, you said the P word. No, I just said the P word. But you'll never guess who they're bringing back from Iron Man, Jordan. You're not gonna know him, the actor, by name, but you get known by the character. He was the bad guy in.
2021.
Oh, close enough. He was the bad guy in Iron Man 1. You know the terrorist guy.
Oh, Justin Hammer.
Not Justin Hammer, the terrorist guy from the first one, the one who captures Tony
Oh,
Stark.
didn't he die?
I guess not, because he's back. He's back for Vision Quest, where I'm guessing he's gonna get an Iron Man suit, if I had to guess.
Okay.
Yeah, I was
That's
like, oh, all
fair.
right.
So that's what Vision's been doing since he fucked off 4 years ago and no one saw him since.
Yeah, I imagine he's been doing army shit. He's been off doing that army shit.
Okay. I mean,
I don't know.
I don't know. That's fine. I guess.
And then,
I think I think I'm a little Marvel burned out. They're just kind of all the same at
yeah, they're
this
not
point.
really doing anything for me. No, no. Like, I'm having to invent a reason to watch these shows because otherwise I'm just like, I don't really. I hear Agatha's good, but I'm just, I'm so,
I don't care about these tertiary characters.
I'm not being made to care. Yeah, man, I'd really like to watch Creature Commandos. Like, that looks interesting. That looks good. Everything coming out from Marvel just all looks bland and the same.
Uh, yeah, that one just kind of also looks like Marvel though. That one kind of just looks like Guardians of the Galaxy or Suicide Squad. I'm not really that excited for that one.
Ah, see, I thought that one looked really fun. I quite liked it.
Eh.
And I've seen a lot of clips from it. And I'm like, oh, this is fun, and it's got some depth to it. I do think it's probably not shouldn't have been the first thing they did. It probably was like a mid-universe thing. They should have done
Yeah, maybe
Superman first,
maybe
but
maybe that's what it is for me. I don't know. It's just to me it just screams Suicide Squad. And Suicide Squad, there's been a lot of Suicide Squad stuff lately.
yeah, I can't disagree with that. But speaking of superhero stuff in DC, that transitions nicely into the Flash director explains why he feels his film flopped at the box office.
The Ezra Miller one,
Yeah, the Ezra Miller. This is the Ezra Miller one.
it flopped because it was a garbage
It
movie.
was a bad movie. Uh, yeah. So according to him, he asserted that the Flash turned into a flop because it failed to attract to a different demographic of moviegoers. He expressed that the superhero movies didn't succeed among all the other reasons because it wasn't a movie that appealed to all four quadrants: male over 25, male under 25, female over 25, female under 25. It failed at that. When you spend wants to bring your
What?
grandmother to theaters. Found out in private
What?
conversations that a lot of people just don't care about the Flash as a character, particularly the female quadrants. To which I would say that there was a television series that went on for 8 seasons. 8 seasons. The Flash, the CW Flash, was on television for 8 seasons while you took your sweet time making that movie. So he's wrong. Jordan, he's wrong.
I mean, or he took 8 years. The Flash had a full cycle of population and has gone into like a decline because it's 8 years of popularity and people loving him. And then this shitty movie came out and was nowhere as good as the TV show, and that's why it failed.
And what I'm saying is, if he had made that movie 6 years ago, when he should have, people
Yeah.
people would have liked it.
Well, no, they wouldn't have because it was a terrible movie, but they might have been kinder to it.
I think it would have been a little nicer to it. Although, no, I don't. That ghoul is CG. Jordan, I can't with the Flash. I can't even. But Jordan, he's wrong. It's very funny how wrong he is. He's like, no, it's not true at all. The Flash is quite a popular character. There's been several Flash things to come out.
That's just demonstratively not true.
That's just demonstrably false.
You're just wrong,
You're
sir.
just
Wrong.
very wrong. Just unbelievably wrong.
The Simpsons can end, should. Oh, sorry, I've crossed the streams. I've gone back in time to a previous stream
that's a previous episode, Jordan.
Where we had a similar opinion because it's time travel, Justin. We've time traveled.
So it's funny. So Jordan, are you familiar with the supernatural actor Mr. Jared Padalecki? He's a handsome actor, man.
I've heard of him. I'm aware of him.
You're aware of him. Well, Jordan, are you aware that he for a number of seasons did the television show Texas Walker Ranger? You know, the one the Chuck Norris one.
I did not know that.
Yeah, he did Texas Walker Ranger for like, I don't know how many seasons. Well, apparently he did that so he didn't have to leave Texas where he lived. Well, now, Jordan, he's doing another show so he doesn't have to leave Texas. It's a medical show. That's it. He didn't have to leave Texas. That's the news story.
It's not really news.
Don't ask me why I included it. Neither of us will watch this show. We didn't watch Texas Walker Ranger. I hear it was bad. I hear it's not very good.
So I'm going to be the one. Why'd you choose this news article, Justin?
Why'd
you choose it?
To make fun of the fact that Jared Padalecki doesn't want to leave Texas.
Yeah, I don't get it, but okay.
He doesn't want to leave Texas, Jordan. Jordan, have you seen Happy Gilmore?
That's the golf one. I think I did it for this show.
No, I did it for this show. I think you've just seen it generally. I feel like.
Probably.
Jordan, are you familiar with the character Shooter McGavin?
Not by name.
He's the main bad guy of Happy Gilmore.
Go on.
He will now be a playable character in PGA Tour 2K25. And that's pretty funny. That'd be funnier though if he could be Happy Gilmore.
Pretty funny.
But that is pretty funny.
That is most amusing, sir.
Most amusing. Anyway, in other video game news, Jordan. it doesn't look that any gameplay footage came out of the Terminator, the T-1000. But we did get to see some.
No, the most we saw of him was we saw what looks like it might have been like when you click to play him and when he appears.
Yeah, his little
We
entrance.
saw
Yeah,
a little bit of that, but
I think Conan looks fun, a little boring if I'm being honest, but I thought Conan was kind of boring generally. But also, Ghostface was so much fun, and he's just a regular stabby guy. So I just wasn't feeling it from the gameplay. Now that I've actually played this game, I wasn't really feeling it.
I need to play him. But he
Yeah,
looks
he
fine.
looks
He looks
fine.
like he fits in with the wacky eclectic cast of characters that is Mortal
Oh, for
Kombat.
sure, he's very out.
But
He's very
like,
outworld coded, but he's just not very. And
but
gameplay wise, he's not really doing anything for me.
I mean, gameplay wise aside, I just for me, what makes the guest characters fun is how standoutish they are.
Yeah, true.
So like Homelander,
Also, I don't think it's a very good impression.
the rest of them, Ghostface,
Yeah,
they all like stand out
exactly.
across the aisle from the Mortal Kombat characters, whereas he doesn't.
Right, I'm more too excited for the Terminator because yeah, he doesn't belong in that world. Yeah, like it's like
Yeah,
Omni Man is really fun to play because he just doesn't belong and his moves are really fun. He's a really fun
yeah.
and easy character to play. And yeah, this just kind of like yeah, he just looks like another sword character, and it just was kind of not doing anything for me.
Maybe it's a big deal. Maybe you'd be really excited if like you had a deep love or reverence or passion for Conan, but I just don't.
Yeah, I just don't, and I just don't think the impression's that good. To be honest.
Yeah, it's fine.
Um, So okay, more video game news, Jordan. The Switch 2. There's a trailer for the Switch 2 that they revealed, and they showed a Mario Kart game, which I saw someone do a video where they're like, "Look at all of the players that could be in the Mario Kart now," and I'm just like, it just kind of looks like the same. It doesn't really. I mean, it looks a bit slicker, a bit smaller. My main concern with it, my main desire out of it, is better battery power on the mobile.
Um, I, I, yeah, I'd like that, but I always want that out of my my mobile
Yeah, yeah.
gaming consoles. For me, the other important thing is I want it to be closer in power. Like in terms of power, it's closer to like the Wii than it is like the PlayStation 4 even or even PlayStation 3 probably. I want more out of it. Like you have things like the Steam Deck which are capable of playing much more impressive games. I want that. I want
Yeah,
to be able to play a modern game on there without it like chugging or you like for Hogwarts Legacy for example, the Switch version of Hogwarts Legacy is the worst version.
yeah.
I want it to be on par with the rest of my modern
Yeah,
consoles.
just once I'd like Nintendo to not be 5 years behind or 10 years behind with the Wii. The Wii was like 10 years behind.
But I mean, I've had problems with Nintendo for years where it's like I don't like how they do business.
Yeah, well, I mean they're an old school Japanese company. It's just the
Yeah,
yeah
and I don't like how they do business. I don't like that their games for the entire length of the console do not go on sale. I realize sometimes they do on the
they do
virtual,
now in the
but like
virtual, but like in terms of hard, no, the hard
not
copies, no, they've
not
never have.
not in store. They don't though. Like
No,
if you go and buy a physical copy, they don't.
I will acknowledge that they've
Um,
gotten better. Like some of the deals are all right, but they're never like they're not to anything that, and they're always like way
it's
late.
not like yeah, it's not like the
It's
PlayStation,
not
for
like the
example.
PlayStation sales. The PlayStation sales are good.
Or Steam or even Xbox, I imagine, is better than fucking Nintendo.
I think
And then
so.
there's just the fact that how do I word this? I don't have a lot of people to go and have a Mario party with
Right?
or Mario
To
Kart
do a
with
Mario or get out and do a Mario Golf with.
or Smash
To,
Brothers.
to, to smash their brothers with.
Um And so it's a console which, at least the Switch, was a console that largely existed on family/party games,
Yeah.
and I don't do those.
No.
So there's not enough games like Legend of Zelda, the two that came out that were really good, Breath of the Wild and the other one. Um, there's not enough Mario Odyssey. There's not enough different games like that.
Not for me,
And
no.
they're all kind of just ones that I had on my GameCube 10 years ago.
Yeah, and some of those are fun. Like I had fun playing
Sure,
Mario Sunshine.
sure, but that's what no, I don't mean like the ports. I mean like they've been Mario Sunshine was just Mario 64.
Yeah,
Like they're all
I
just
mean
the
Mario Odyssey was
same.
pretty. That was pretty fun. There was enough change and tweaking in the formula for me. Where like I enjoy this one.
I don't know. To me, it still felt
I'll put it to you this way.
like a bigger. It was a bigger form of those, but it was still the same kind
I'll
of
put it to you this
game.
way. It's the first Mario game I think I've ever actually beaten. But final bit. Oh, I don't know. We don't normally do political content, but
Do we have
I
to?
don't really know what to do with this information, and we're just gonna say it. So Donald Trump has. I don't. You could be like, why is this news? Because I ask myself, why is this news? And you're gonna be like, I'm gonna be like, why is this on my news website? And you're gonna be like, why is this in the news rotation? Because Donald Trump has named John Voight, Sylvester Stallone, and Mel Gibson as, and this is in quotes, Jordan. Jordan, take it together now. Get those air quotes up. Special ambassadors of Hollywood. Don't
The
ask
fuck
me.
does that even mean?
President, he's been tapped by the president-elect to be his eyes and ears in Hollywood, California in the years to come. Those guys be old, yo. They're old.
Like,
They're really
so
old.
I know he's like the president elect and all that, but why does anybody listen to what that man says?
Because
He's senile.
he's the president-elect.
Shut up.
That's why.
Shut up.
That's why. That's it. That's
It
all I
was
had
a,
to say on that. I was
it
just
was
like,
it was
why is this
it was
news?
a rhetorical question, Justin. I wasn't looking for a real answer.
And then it's a hard pivot to the final news story of the day, which is the Until Dawn trailer.
Also, he can fuck right off with that whole 51st fucking state thing. No,
I mean,
no,
no. And that's a spur of the
no,
moment guarantee. No.
no,
No.
no.
We will
He can
not.
fuck all the way
We
off.
will not engage with stupidity. We will, but only the correct kind of stupidity.
No, no, no. See, we won't engage with stupidity. We will engage with tomfoolery, Justin.
That is true. We will create our own stupidity. We don't need that stupidity.
We don't need any extra stupidity.
We can self-generate stupidity.
Our cup runneth over.
Exactly. We filleth thine cup. During the Until Dawn trailer.
Why are we calling it that? It's not Until Dawn.
Here's my thing, okay? Here's my thing. It actually looks like kind of a fun movie, and I was quite enjoying it. It's not Until Dawn. To the point that it made me question. Wait. Until Dawn's the one with the
Wendigos.
With the Wendigos, right? Yeah, that's Until Dawn. Yeah.
As I understand it, each of the scenarios that you see in this movie is supposed to be a reference to, you know how Until Dawn is just one of the games of that world. There's like the Dark Meridian.
Yeah.
There's like a whole anthology of different ones that
Yeah, there was one
exist.
that came out. That's why I was like, is it the one that came out? What was the one that came out after Until Dawn? Quarry.
I think that was
Quarry Lake. That's what it was.
I don't know. All I know is that
Looking it up.
supposedly each of the things that's referenced in this trailer is a reference to one of their games. Like the different styles and stuff.
Yeah.
That's what I read anyway. I don't know if that's true.
The Quarry.
But
I
guess apparently one of the things is a Wendigo.
Oh,
That's one of the deaths.
Because but it's just not the plot of Until Dawn.
No,
Like,
not even a little bit.
you should have called it like. And yeah, the Quarry. That's the next one, and the Quarry was good. Like the story in that was
Oh
good.
yeah, they were fun games, sure, but this is calling itself Until Dawn, and it's not Until Dawn.
It's like it looks like a fun movie. Like I enjoy the concept of the clock constantly resetting. I mean, it's really kind of funny and thematic because we're obviously going to talk about time travel and time loop stuff. So we'll love a good time loop story. It's just not Until Dawn. That's just the
Yeah,
it's just
it's just
every
another
comment on
example.
every video I've seen of it is it's not Until Dawn. It looks good. It
It,
looks fun. It just looks
it
like they had
looks
a random script that they slapped Until Dawn onto.
Yeah, it looks fine. Like it's nothing to write home about, nothing super exciting about it. It
Right?
looks fine. But yeah, they clearly put Until Dawn on it for the name power, which surprises me because I wouldn't have thought Until Dawn had that much name power to begin with.
Right?
But that's why they put that name on there, and it's an example of Hollywood is gonna shoot themselves in the foot because instead of anybody focusing on what the movie actually is, all you will ever hear them say is, "Yeah, it's fine, but it's not Until Dawn."
Yeah, you'll be focused on what the movie isn't. Um,
It's
yeah,
also, as far as I'm concerned, misadvertisement
right.
or
Um,
false advertising, I guess is what I mean.
dumb, stupid. Jordan, that's the end of the news. That's enough. That's enough. It's enough. I let it go on too long. I've let it go on too long. It's enough. It's enough. This week, everybody, I have an exciting announcement. Everybody, we have a new sponsor because every week, most weeks, this show is brought to you in part, in some way, by today's sponsor. Because today's episode, Jordan may be excited to hear that today's episode is brought to you by Amazon Prime. Everyone, if you click the link in our description, you will get a 25-day free trial to Amazon Prime. And beyond the fact that it's just a great streaming service with an entire library of content that you can check out, I love it because it combines various streaming services into one space. So it's Amazon Prime. For me, it's also Paramount Plus. And it's easy. I don't have to go to different streaming services. Jordan, as a user and a payer of Amazon Prime, what is something you love about Amazon Prime?
I like that if ever I can't find a movie that like on a streaming service that I want, you can just rent movies from them, often at very reasonable prices.
Very reasonable prices. And also, Amazon Prime is, I believe, Jordan, you're
You can
signed up.
also just straight up buy movies from them too, so that's cool.
And that's just a video. You also have the Amazon Prime shipping service as well, right?
Yeah, there's the package service, which I mean that's the cool thing is like you're technically when you're doing Prime, you're technically paying for the package service and you get the streaming service as part of it.
Right? And it's like
Um
next day shipping, I believe, if I'm not
and it's
mistaken.
like yeah, next day one or day two shipping, which take it or leave it for how accurate that promise is, but it is I believe it also means that they don't charge you for shipping, which is big
Which is it's
because shipping
huge.
shipping can be very expensive.
Exactly.
Very,
And
very, very expensive.
so if you sign up for Amazon Prime today using our link in the description, you tell Amazon Prime that we sent you. That helps out the show. You get an awesome deal on Amazon Prime. Click the link in the description below. That's it. That's the sponsorship section. On with the show.
Ba,
Thank you,
ba,
Amazon
da,
Prime.
da,
You
da.
make the show much easier. We so much easier.
Hey.
Hey. On today's show, the main topic, the main report, the main dealio, if you will. Allie, she had the option to choose between time travel and Jordan. Jordan also voted. I think it was unanimous, though.
I'm
Uh,
pretty sure it was.
we voted for time travel. Time travel stories going back in time. And then we came back from tomorrow to tell you about them. Because I didn't even think
Indeed,
about it
we
now until
did.
Jake pointed it out. Jake, being the clever guy he is. So,
He's a pretty smart fella.
as per the tradition, which we have skipped, I think, every once in a while recently, Jordan, you may go first. What is your first time travel rapid fire?
My first one So we travel back to 2007. Disney puts out a movie called Meet the Robinsons, and it's fun. Except there's one point in it where they change the past, and Doris is no longer invented, and everything changes literally around them. And Justin is infuriated because he's like, "That's not how time travel
Oh my
works."
god,
And
there's so
and
much of that.
and Justin was enraged, and Jordan was largely indifferent because he was sort of like, well, I mean, time travel isn't really a thing. We don't know how it would actually work, so for all we know, this is how it works. And Justin was like, this isn't how time travel works.
And now
And
I'm
it
like, I
was a
mean,
whole
time
thing.
travel is theoretical because, no one has ever actually done it. So, I mean, time travel can kind of be whatever it wants to be, narratively speaking. But yeah, that was dumb. But it's a
No
beautiful
one,
musical number and a nice needle drop in a movie I
no,
otherwise like.
no one has ever done it until this moment right now, where if I have ever invented time travel over the course of my life, I will appear just off camera. Hey, it's me.
No,
I'm here
no,
for the future.
this is an embarrassing bit. No,
No,
I don't
no,
condone
it's
this.
funny. But it's funny.
It's also an early Disney animated movie, so some of the animation's a bit cheap. Wilbur, the main character, he looks kind of rough. His hair effects are kind of cheap looking.
Yeah, but there's also such funny jokes as when the frog gets the mind control hat on him, and he's like, "I'm, I'm a little, and I have small arms, and they're gigantic. I'm just not sure how well thought out this plan was,
I love that bit with the T Rex.
Master."
Might have a big
I
head and
have
little
a big
arms.
head and little arms. I'm just not sure how well this plan was thought out, Master.
It's really fun. I think it's one of Disney's more underrated ones that people kind of tend to
The
pass over. I think it's in like
bowler
the
hat guy
treasure.
is bowler hat guy is genuinely
He's
funny.
genuinely his motivations. I don't want to spoil that as well because it's a fun twist. And his motivations are really funny, and he's really funny. He's got a lot of really funny. And then there's a moment at the end where you see his like future plan succeeding, where he looks kind of scary, and you're like, he does a really good job of finding a balance of being like really funny and kind of scary at the same time. Yeah, it's in that like
Right?
Treasure Planet school of like underrated Disney movies.
Apparently it's huh. Apparently it's loosely based on the 1990 children's book A Day with Wilbur Robinson.
I feel like I knew that.
I did not.
I feel like I knew that.
Um, it had a budget of 150 million and a box office of 170.5 million. So
No,
it didn't do great,
no, it didn't. That's why you've never seen it.
but
Meet the Robinsons too.
that's disappointing to me because I liked it.
Yeah, I
I
do
thought
too.
it was good.
Like I say, I think it's underrated. I definitely think it's underrated. Jordan, is that it? Is that all you had to say about Meet the Robinsons? Meet the
Apparently,
Robinsons.
apparently, huh, that would have been different. Apparently Jim Carrey was originally off. I know we keep going back to Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey was apparently originally offered the role of bowler hat guy, but he turned it down to star in the number 23.
Neither of these were good choices. Although I could see that character absolutely does suit him.
It absolutely
Yeah,
does.
you could
It
tell.
feels encoded to him.
Yeah. Okay, Jordan, we ready to move on?
We are.
So my first one, Jordan, I had a feeling you weren't gonna go for it, and I was really hoping you wouldn't because for this exact reason, Jordan. My first one is a little movie called Dexter's Ego Trip.
Dexter's ego trip. Goodbye, Dexter.
Ah, there, goodbye, Dexter. Goodbye, Dexter.
Goodbye, Dexter.
Goodbye, Billy.
It's been so long since I've
Stop it.
actually seen that. Sorry. Bobby,
Bye, Billy. I can't do it. It's so it's on.
Bobby.
Here's what I will say. Dexter as a character is utterly insufferable. He's insufferably arrogant. He's really annoying. But my god, if that there's a really funny bit at the
Ha
beginning.
ha 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 ha.
That's so funny. The parents are so dirty. They're so dirty. There's a really dirty joke, like an exceptionally dirty joke at the beginning of it, where like they're
Yeah.
playing Twister, and they're like, "Oh, it's not gonna fit. It's not gonna fit. Just got twisted in." It's so dirty. It's amazing. I'm like, this is so good.
I seem to remember seeing. It's been a while, but I remember there's been a lot of memes that have been made about it, but one where it's like it's something like there's a lady who's bent over and it says trophy on her ass.
Yeah. That's from Dexter's Lab. Yeah. I've
Yeah,
seen that
yeah,
one. Yeah.
yeah.
And then
Um,
um,
sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it's legit kind of upsetting at points. Like there's a bit where you go to where you meet Nerd Dexter, and he's being sentenced to being flogged by Mandark.
Oh yeah, I
It's
remember
like this
that.
is
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
upsetting, and
This is for
this is
children.
for
As
children.
he's
Kid
screaming.
like agony. Yeah, it's so weird. And then action.
Man, I watched this as a kid. No wonder I'm fucked up.
Yeah, it's one of those. And then Action Dexter's super cool. He was super awesome. Like I really enjoyed him. Um, oh yeah, the funniest bit. Yeah, there's a funny. So the ending is kind of a fun twist where you find the entire time Dexter thinks that he's the one who saved the future. So he beats these robots are sent back in time to kill the one who saved the future or to destroy the one who saved the future. And Dexter
It's a
thinks
time
it's
loop.
yeah, and Dexter thinks it's him, which sparks him to go on the adventure. And it turns out at the end that it's actually Dee Dee who's the one who's saved the future. She hits the thing that blows everything up, and they were the ones who sent the robots back to go after Dee Dee, thus instigating the whole story. And it's kind of a clever twist. Like the only thing, I mean, it's a kids show, so you're kind of like, wait, how did Dee Dee get there in the first place? Like, don't think about it, kind of logic.
Doesn't she just like wander in
She just
through the
kind of
time portal
wanders.
thing?
She just kind of wanders in off of the like off screen. She's just kind of just there all of a sudden. Like they're all struggling and it's, all the Dexters are fighting, all the Mandarks, and they're all there. And it looks like Dexter, like past Dexter's about to do it, and Dee Dee just casually walks up and hits the button, and then and they're all so like they're like pissed, like Dee Dee, and then future Dexter's like it was Dee Dee, I remember now. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was good. It was really funny. I was like, this is funny. I really thought I really enjoyed this. It was way better than
I remember enjoying that one.
yeah. It was just as funny as I remember. Like oh man, they got away with so much back in the day. That is Dexter's ego trip and Dexter's laboratory.
Um,
Comes the
so
smartest
my
boy
next one,
you've ever seen. But Didi blows
Katie
his
blows his
experiments
experiments
to
to
smith
Smith the Reese, but that's all we can do.
That's all we can
That's all we
do
can do.
for copyright reasons, and also because we'll peak the mics if we attempt to sing it. And Dexter's
Um,
Lab. That was bad. I didn't like that. Didn't feel good. I didn't like it. I wanted to go for it, and I didn't feel proud of myself. And
Dexter's
Dexter's. Oh no! I'm gone. What happened?
Um,
I don't know why that
so
happened.
my next one, unless you have anything else to say
No.
about Mr. Dexter's ego trip.
No, I don't. Go on. Go on.
My next one is Naruto Shippuden, the movie, The Lost Tower.
The movie.
I've talked about Naruto a few times on this. You either love him or you haven't seen him because he's got like over the course of his several different shows, he's got like 37 seasons of television. It's an almost insurmountable task, so you can be understood if you haven't seen it all. But this one, basically, Naruto and team show up in like ruined ancient desert city to stop this one bad guy from tapping into the ley lines and doing a bad thing. And then Naruto and team leader get sent back through time.
Jordan,
Um,
here's the important question. No, go on. Continue with the thing because you have to get to the bit. Then I'll tell you my joke.
back through time. And we find out that the bad guy arrived 6 years before they did. Also, Naruto is separated from his teacher. Then Naruto ends up running into his dad. Doesn't realize it's his dad, but we know if you've been watching the show, we know it's his dad.
So here's my question.
And then by the end of the movie, their memories all get wiped. So the natural course of history can go and
Here's my
stuff.
question: does Naruto's dad have Naruto hair? Is it a Goku situation? Do they share the same hair?
I mean, it's the same color and vaguely the same style,
So is it like Naruto's dad just looks like Naruto?
kind of.
All
Look
right.
up Minato from Naruto on
No,
your computer.
I'm not going to do that. I'm going to
Do it.
accept. I'm going to accept your kind of.
What I'll say is Naruto does not look like his mother, who has cherry red hair.
All right, that makes sense.
Um, but yeah, no, I enjoy it, but I like Naruto, and it's kind of just a longer version of the show.
If you
So,
like Naruto, you're gonna like it. It's one of those.
um, it's definitely a rapid fire because I don't have a lot to say about it. Came out on July 31st, 2010.
All right.
It's about 85 minutes long.
All right.
It made 1.3 billion, what I think is
That's
yen,
probably yen.
US $8.5 million dollars.
That's not bad. All right, Jordan. Next one for me is a little movie called Idiocracy. Jordan, have you ever seen Idiocracy?
I have no idea. I can
Idiot.
honestly say I am not sure.
Idiocracy is Luke Wilson. Luke Wilson is an average Joe in the army, and him and Maya Rudolph, a woman of the night, both get co-opted into becoming part of this program, testing the viability of putting people in cryostasis. And due to an accident, they both wind up being frozen for hundreds of years. And they wake up in the future where, due to generations of bad breeding, all the smart people have been genetically bred out, so it's just a bunch of stupid people. They're so
Uh,
dumb, and they resolve all of their problems by like pro wrestling. And I'm doing like a really half-assed job explaining it, but they
oh, and there's a guy and he takes a test and they put him into a job and like he's a genius there.
yeah, it turns out he's a genius there. Yeah, even though he's just an average
I
person.
I, I think I've seen clips of it on TikTok.
And yeah, the president is a professional wrestler, and one of the guys, his favorite show is a show called "Ow, That's My Balls," which is just it's just clips of a guy getting kicked in the balls over and over again.
Sounds
Um,
funny.
it's all right. I definitely laughed. I mean, like the message of it, like the eugenics message of it, is not great, and
Heavy-handed.
yeah, and Um, it's dumb. Like it's all right. I won't. I won't. I'm a Mike Judge fan. It's made by Mike Judge, who did King of the Hill and Beavis and Butthead. I like his sense of humor. Like I think King of the Hill is very funny. So a lot of it aligns with my sense of humor. But yeah, the messaging. It's a very like this is commentary on 2003 2004 and I'm in 2024. Oh, there's a ton of slurs.
Whoa, no, Justin.
That's the
We're in
one thing.
20 we're in 2025. Get with the program,
That's true.
Justin.
There's also a lot of slurs. Like there's a lot of slurs, like an uncomfortable amount of slurs. And I was like, ooh, this has made this age kind of badly. But I still laughed. I thought it was funny. It was all right. It's all right. Oh, time travel. We're supposed to be talking about the time travel portion of this. Um, what was your first one? Your first one was uh, what have we done already? I did Ego Trip. We talked how it was a time loop. Time travel worked all right in that. Uh,
I talked about Naruto and how he got thrown into the
oh yeah, and
past.
they explained it by being like
Um,
memory wipe, and then this one.
my first one was, oh, this is bad. That was like 10 minutes ago. Just shows how tired I am. Hold on. Keep talking.
And then Idiocracy, the time travel element of this works just fine. It's more like it's funny because we're gonna talk about one of the awesome powers. It's more like the first Austin Powers, where it's technically about time travel in the sense that like they travel to the future, but they never
I
travel to
mean,
the past. Like it ends with them like still in the future. Like they choose to stay in the future where they choose to be He eventually becomes president because he's like the smartest guy in the world. So he doesn't go back in time. So like it doesn't really involve traveling through time. It
The,
is in a sense, but it's not really about traveling through time.
the first one I did was Meet the Robinsons.
Oh yeah, that's solid time travel. They're using a time travel
That's
machine.
they're using a time machine,
They're
so
using
I
a time
don't feel like I need to deep dive into
No,
that one.
no, no. You may go with your next one. Go on with
My,
your bad self.
my next one is Lightyear, which it's time travel. He's going into the future.
It's
Really,
technically
really fast.
it's tech yeah, well, it's technically it's
Theory of relativity.
yeah, it's interstellar for kids. That's what it is. It's the idea, yeah, of relativity.
Um, so technically it's time travel, and then when we hit a certain point in the movie, there's future Buzz, and so then it's literally time travel.
Yeah, yeah.
He went
Uh
so far into the future that they had technology that was like super duper advanced,
that he
and
went insane.
he was kind of a dick, Justin.
Kind of a, and then it turned out he was Zurg, which like I don't know. I think Disney felt was a more clever twist. Yeah, man, this movie was a mess. The fact that I don't know. I stand by. I still don't think they should have put that text in explaining what the premise of the stupid movie was at the beginning. They're like, this is the movie Andy watched. Nope, nobody's getting this.
I don't think they
This
needed
is
to do
too
that.
esoteric for people. Just give
I
them a
really think you could have just had it. You don't like the thing is that as soon as they felt the need to put that in, that shows a lack of confidence in your product.
right.
Um, People will either get it, like get that it's supposed to be that, or they won't, and they'll be like, it's just another Buzz Lightyear
Yeah, it's
story.
just a
You
fun.
don't really need to connect it to that. It's a fun wink thing for people that get it, where it's like people, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
and
just
then it's just a fun
wasn't
action for it.
necessary.
But I think this is too
Plus,
generic of
plus,
an action movie, of an animated action movie for people to latch onto, and it's not similar enough to the thing they recognize for them to attach to it in that way.
I mean, the thing is like for me, if you wanted to connect it to Toy Story, then what you should have done is had it be a thing where like there's a framing device of like Andy as an adult is like or in college or whatever is like, oh, there's a Buzz Lightyear movie, and have it be where like much like the Buzz Lightyear Star Command show, the
Yeah.
VHS one of that was the toys watching the show. Have it be where Andy is like, this is like straight from my childhood, and goes to watch the movie as the framing device.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been
If
like,
if if you felt the need to attach it to Toy
I
Story, which you really didn't need to
I
do.
don't think you need. I think you could have done a whole universe of these movies, and the next one could have been. I mean, we joked about it where he goes through the time portal and he wants, but do the next one where it's yeah, it's literally Woody. Like it's you do Woody's Roundup, and it's a serious Western cowboy
I mean,
movie.
I don't even think you need
I
to
don't
have
want.
him go through a time portal. I mean, there's nothing that says that or that Buzz has to be from Earth.
Yeah, that's true.
He's humanoid, sure, but you could absolutely just have it be where he crash lands on Earth in the Midwest.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Yeah, I don't think they specifically. No, don't they say that they're like humans from the future in that movie?
I don't think so.
Oh, that's fair enough. Because I yeah, I like the idea
I
of him
don't
going
think
through a.
I don't think they. I mean, I think they call them Earthling or like Earth, whatever. But like, there's ways around it.
I
Is
don't know.
kind
I
of the
think having him
point.
go through a time portal and winding up in like the Wild West. I think that is like kind of a reference to the original movie of him crashing in Andy's room, which is like a different. I don't know. I think that'd be fun. And then that way you could do a Woody movie where it's a western. But yeah, that movie's all right. Is our long way of saying it's all right.
Yeah, it's fine. It's not. It doesn't bother me. Is I guess the point.
No, I thought it was fine.
I can separate it from Toy Story and enjoy it as its own
And you
thing,
should
and
too. So they make more.
you should too, so that they do create more creative things and don't just put out Toy Story 5.
Right. Jordan, is that it?
Yeah, it's pretty. A lot of my rapid fires this week, Justin. Turns out pretty rapid.
Ready rapid, yeah, yeah. Mine are a bit meatier, Jordan. Because my next one, I knew I wanted to when I was doing time travel stuff. I had to do a time travel movie for my childhood that I loved. And that's the Austin Powers franchise. And I couldn't decide between the second or the. I didn't want to do the first one because he doesn't travel back in time in that movie. Like I said, that's about
He's
cryogenic
sort
freezing.
of he's sort of just on ice.
Yeah, exactly. And I wasn't sure if the second one, if they, and then I remember, no, they do, because there's the bit in the third one with the car that's a reference back to the second one with the car. That's like,
Right, where instead of what was it? Instead of disco, it's something else.
well, in the
It's like
third
they
one
change.
is, and I think in the second one it's like a regular car, and then in the third one it's a pimp mobile.
Yeah, something like
Because in
that.
the third one he's
I
going to
just
the
I just
'70s.
know that I just know that it's two different ages, like two different time periods. So the second one, the girl is more like the Beatles kind of time period, and then the third one, it's Beyonce.
Yeah, yeah. And I couldn't remember, so I was like, oh, I watched the third one because I got more like I don't know. I'll watch the third one. So I watched the third one, Austin Powers and Gold Member, and like I remember the last time I watched the first one, it wasn't doing anything for me. I was just like, this is just not as funny as I remember it being. It's like a lot of juvenile humor that isn't doing anything for me. But this time, I really was digging the third one. Maybe it's because I've watched the third one. I think I've watched the third one the most.
I think
I
so.
think I realized
I
this
remember
time
watching that one a lot. Yeah.
because this one has so many, like I can still quote so much of it. Like I had to write this down so I wouldn't forget it. But in our personal life, a running joke between me and Jordan is we'll say how this is not our first rodeo, and
It's not our first rodeo.
we're never sure where that came from. Jordan, you'll never guess where that came from.
Did it come from Austin Powers
It
3?
comes from Austin Powers 3. Yeah,
Is it now that I'm thinking about it, is it Austin Powers' dad?
it might no. I don't know if it's Austin Powers' dad. I think it's Doctor Evil, but it's in that scene. It's in the scene where the gold member is like trying to escape and going into Austin Powers' mouth, and he's like breaker breaker. And he's like, no, I think it is Austin Powers' dad. He says it now that I'm thinking about it. Also, as an aside, Michael Caine, amazing in that movie. He's so much fun. He's got so many fun lines. One of my favorites is where you've got
I
the like
I I legitimately never realized that was Michael Caine until just this moment.
really? Ah, he's so
Yeah.
good. He did like a character that was like a weird kind of you know they're supposed to be suave kind of character called Alfie, and I think that his Austin Powers' dad is supposed to be like a reference to that. Um,
Oh yeah.
but he's just I just love how
Do you know how many unnamed faceless guards I've taken down over the years? Just lay down, son.
you
Just
don't
lay
stand a
down.
chance. Just lay down. Just lay down. But for other favorite bits where they're like, we're gonna talk in front of these girls, gotta talk in proper English, and then he shat on a
Cha-
turtle.
cha- cha.
It's funny. Or my other favorite bit is in the jail when they sing "It's a Hard Not Life" and there's the rap. There's a lot of really fun musical numbers. Gold Members theme song. Gold Member is hilarious.
It's
Jake made a joke
solid
about it on
gold. It's solid gold,
when we were doing
baby.
the Final Frontier, where he said, "Yeah, Mike Myers clearly has some sort of beef with the Dutch." But yeah, it's like, there's only two things in this world I can't stand: people who are intolerant of other people's religions, and the
And the
Dutch.
Dutch.
If I had one criticism, there's a weird framing device that the movie starts with, where it's they're making Austin Powers' life into a movie, and like Tom
Oh
Cruise
yeah.
is Austin Powers, Danny DeVito is Mini Me, and I think it's Kevin Spacey is Doctor Evil, which I think is funny in
Yeah.
retrospect, and and yeah, and it's just there to facilitate the opening, not the opening number of Austin Powers singing to his opening theme song, and but it comes back in
No,
a
it's also there to be the book end so they can
well, that's what
end
I
it
was
with
just what
that.
that was just what I was gonna say. But then it comes back as a wraparound gag, because I guess at least it comes across like they couldn't come up with an ending because just yeah out of nowhere the movie doesn't really have an ending because it just transitions into the fake movie ending, so we never find out.
Oh
Uh,
man. You want to talk about movies that don't have an ending. We're going to get to a movie that doesn't have
um,
an ending.
but
Go on.
I think it's because the ending of that movie is supposed to be a parody of like sappy endings and stuff with like the
Yeah.
reveal that Doctor Evil is like his brother. Like I don't think that's supposed to be sincere or genuine. Just like the backstory that like they now went to school together is clearly supposed to be like a joke. Like I don't think it's meant to be taken literally.
I mean, yeah, no, to be fair, those movies, all three of them are a parody of that, like the spy
Yeah.
James Bond franchise. So yeah, absolutely, I believe it. Those were supposed to be
Um
jokes.
but yeah, my other favorite is how yeah, Fat Bastard is just pre Shrek. He's just Shrek. He's just
Yeah,
awful
yeah,
Shrek. It's like,
yeah.
oh, you ever been not smell when you're walking down your hallway and you're like, oh, what are they cooking? That
Oh,
plus crap. Yeah.
my favorite is, I hate myself because I eat, and I eat because I hate myself. Oh, it sounded wet, didn't it?
I can't help but laugh at Potty here. But yeah, oh,
Oh,
the
it's
time
so
travel
bad.
is kind of funny because in this one, I know in the second one, the big plot point of that is like his mojo gets stolen and it affects him in the present. This is just like they go back. He goes back to the '70s to meet Foxy. They come back to the 2000s, and then they chase Goldmember back to the '70s, but it doesn't really have any impact on the story. Really, it's not really the point of this movie.
No, not really.
The only reason why the '70s is there is so that they can do that the parody of "That's the Way I Like It." Also, there's a really funny running joke where Foxy keeps getting knocked down by him. His like really flexible legs. That's really funny. Um, he got the Midas touch. He done touched it
Cost
too
too much.
much.
Now
It
he's gold member.
was
He's
funny.
gold
But yeah, it's very funny. It's a
member.
funny movie. That's it. That's Gold Member. Austin Powers and Gold Member. Make Austin Powers 4. Do it. Do it.
Austin Powers 4.
Make Austin
Mega
Powers
Mega
4.
Break. Mega Break Power 4.
Make a prior
Um,
poor Austin Powers 4. Make Austin Powers 4. Jordan. Make Austin Powers 4.
my next rapid fire, Mr. Potter, is Mr. Peabody and Sherman.
That movie's
I've
also
been
funny.
listening. I've been listening to the Harry Potter audiobooks too much, and now I'm talking like Snape.
Oh,
Anyway, Mr. Peabody and Sherman is a movie. Apparently, this week I decided to just watch a lot of children's movies, but um, it's fun. Uh, I don't know how accurate it is to the original cartoon, but there's a funny Oedipus joke in it, which is terribly inappropriate for a children's movie.
so we're gonna mention it here, Jordan. What's the joke?
They're in Troy in the wooden horse, and who is he? Archimedes, well, whoever he um, is talking about the different people that are part of the army, and he's like, and then there's Oedipus. You really don't want to be at his house at a family reunion. It gets really uncomfortable. It's
Dirty.
very funny, and
Naughty.
I didn't do it justice, but it's a very funny. And I remember when we watched this in theaters, and that joke came up, and we just like, I don't think I think like nobody else in the theater was laughing at it, but you, me, and our friend, I believe,
Yeah.
were just like killing ourselves laughing because it's so
It's a
ridiculous.
weird inappropriate. Yeah, that movie is better than it has any right to be, based on a segment from the Rocky and Bullwinkle show. That
Um,
it's just this is this character from history, and look at him in our weird animation style, and that was kind of the bit. There wasn't much to them.
um, also,
And I think there's a
the
joke in
the
there
the
about like touching yourself. Don't touch yourself, Sherman.
yeah, I believe so. Also, there's one character in this movie who she's the classic. I'm gonna take your adoptive son away from you, even though you've had him for years, and this feels unethical. Um, there's that character in this movie, and she's basically just Dolores Umbridge.
I mean, yeah, it's true.
She wears pink. She's an unpleasant human being. The only thing is she's not short.
Or toad
She's
like.
tall. She's tall
That's
and
true.
and manly. Um, but yeah, it's a fun movie, and it's sort of sweet watching Sherman and the irritating little girl who's awful, um, become friends over the course of the movie.
It's a
It's
fun
not a very
movie.
complicated movie,
No, no, it's
but
good though.
it's fun.
It's worth checking out. Seal of
Yeah, it's
approval.
fun.
My next movie, Jordan. Speaking of Amazon Prime, our this week's sponsor, you can watch this next movie on Amazon Prime. It's a movie called Palm Springs. We're going to be talking about the concept of the Groundhog Day or the time loop. And there's a ton of Groundhog Days. There's a ton of time loops, and so it's a concept that is tried and true. So it becomes about how do you expand upon the time loop idea? How do you do it differently? How do you put your own spin on it? And this spin is there's more than one. There's more than one person stuck in the time loop. And what if the Bill Murray, if you're familiar with Groundhog Day, which again we're going to talk about later, what if a person came into the time loop when the Bill Murray character was like midway through being Bill Murray? And what if they were
Oh,
a couple?
is this that Adam Sandberg one?
Andy Samberg one, yeah.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah. And it's really good. He's really fun. He's a bit more serious, but he still maintains a sense of humor. Their relationship is believable. Um, it's funny. It's cute. I like the time travel. The time. It's never well. It's sort of implied to be like magical because there's an explosion, a timed explosion that opens up this cave which contains the time loop, and when you go into the cave, you get stuck in it. But the time loop is like it's not like you getting sent back in time. It's more like you're stuck in a simulation because at the end, spoiler alert, when they get out of the time loop, J.K. Simmons, who is still stuck in the time loop, goes back to do the time loop, and he runs into um, Andy Samberg, who has now escaped out of the time loop. But Andy Samberg is like part of the simulation now. He's not the Andy Samberg who is stuck in the time loop. If that makes sense.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
yeah, implying that it runs self-programmed, so that the characters are in it, what contained within it, are not real. They're like part of the simulation almost.
Yeah, facsimiles. They're
Yeah,
facsimiles.
exactly. They're not the real people who exist on the outside of the simulation.
Right.
Um,
I remember it being good.
it's good. Yeah. I was like, oh,
Does
this
it
is fun.
does it does it still hold up?
It still holds up, and it's on Amazon Prime. Another reason to get Amazon
Hashtag
Prime.
hashtag sponsorship.
Hashtag sponsorship.
Um so anything else to say about that one?
That is it. Check it out. It's good.
So this is my last rapid fire, and I saved this one for last because it has a story attached to it. It's called Freebirds. Now, when I watched this movie the first time, I worked at my last job, and I worked at a turkey processing plant, is what we refer to it as. There are less pleasant names for it, but we're going to go with turkey processing plant. Um, and there's a part in the movie, spoiler, where the dumb one, the redheaded turkey, um, who is played by Woody Harrelson, I believe.
Yeah, I believe.
Um, um, he he's telling the Owen Wilson's turkey about how he didn't grow up on a free run farm. He grew up in a factory, and it shows very specifically. I'll never forget. It shows two human characters who are wearing the outfit that I used to have to wear when I worked at that job at that period. And it frames them as as villains, as bad
Yeah.
guys.
Like, are we
And
the bad guys?
I'll never forget when I turned and I turned to you. I don't think you worked there at the time. I worked there.
No, that
Um,
was during that brief summer where I worked there as well.
where you
Yeah,
did as well.
yeah.
And we turned to each other, and I remember us being like, "Are we the bad guys?
Are we
We're
the
the
bad?
bad guys in a children's movie."
Right? Nobody
And
wants to
I
be
just
Gaston. Let me tell you.
it was upsetting. I
Yeah.
was like, "I'm not a bad guy. I'm not a villain. I'm a
Right?
guy who's going in and doing his job. I don't
Mm,
like it, but it's
I
like
don't. I don't like this.
it made me feel awful, and so this time I could happily say that I was able to watch this one and be like, this time I'm not the villain in a children's
This
movie.
time, all right.
Um, and so time travel in this one, uh, it's it's silly, but the turkeys are smart enough to be aware that they no longer, or at least the one turkey, has Woody Harrelson's turkey has been set by on a plan by the Great Turkey to take turkeys off the menu.
Dum
Um,
dum dum.
and meanwhile, uh, Owen Wilson's turkey has been presidential pardoned, and so he's living it up in the president's house, and it's all great for him. And then he gets birdnapped by Woody Harrelson's character, and they end up sneaking into a government facility in, I believe it's Area 51. No, Pentagon. I don't know. Um, but
Alien
they
place.
still they steal a time machine. They go back in time. The time machine is George Takei. Um,
Because of course it is.
and they go back in time, and they end up taking turkeys off the menu, and it's stupid, but it's fun.
It's an
But that's how
animated
the
movie that's not Disney.
yeah, it was,
Blue
hold
Sky.
on, where is it?
I'm,
Real FX Studios
oh,
is who it was produced by,
not Blue Sky. I was wrong.
as its first fully animated feature film, and Relativity Media's fourth animated film after Monster House.
Huh. Well, all right then.
It made, it had a budget rather of 55 million. And do you want to take a stab at how much money it made?
10 million.
Okay, so it had a budget of 55.
Yes.
You think it did that? You think it did that poorly?
Yes. Yes, I do.
You think it did 10 million?
10 million. Yes.
Well, Justin, according to this, it did 100 million, 110.4 million.
Oh, very
So,
successful.
so way more successful than you had kind of you were
Yeah,
anticipating, Justin.
I was very wrong. I was
You
very
were a
wrong.
hundred. You were 100 million off,
I was
Justin.
100 million off.
You should be ashamed.
It's
Just
true.
also this has Keith David in it.
Oh, I like that guy. Or is that it?
Yeah, it's a movie
It's a
about a
movie
turkey,
about a turkey
a turkey or two who go back in time.
and stop Thanksgiving. Take turkeys off the menu.
Dun dun dun.
So my last rapid fire of the week, Jordan, is a movie
Is it about
called.
turkeys?
It's not about turkeys. What is
Well,
about?
then how can it follow up my turkey movie,
Do I mean?
Justin? Jeez.
It is about a group of turkeys, if you know what I mean, but not literal turkeys. No, it's about a group of guys. It's a movie called Hot Tub Time Machine, Jordan. It's John Cusack.
Ooh.
It's Craig Robinson. It's Clark Duke. It's Rob Corddry, and I'm like, why is John Cusack in this movie? He's just the one where I'm like, you don't. One of these things isn't like the others.
See, it's funny
Like
because
Craig Robinson, Clark Duke, Corddry. You guys are all in movies like this.
every every time that I remember this movie, you go like, yeah, John Cusack's in it, and I'm like, isn't it? And then I say the person that I always think of every time, whose name is currently escaping me.
Adam Scott.
Um, no, um, he was in Horrible Bosses. Well, I'm not funny.
No, that's not. It's not coming to me. You mean Kevin
Hold
Spacey?
on, no, I think it was Horrible Bosses.
Um,
So he's very well known. Keep talking.
yeah. So this movie, the plot of it is there's a guy. He's really depressed, and he tries to kill himself. And so his friends in a bit, well, he looks like he tries to kill himself, and in a bit to
Jason
make him.
Bateman.
Oh yeah, no, he's not Jason Bateman. In a bid to
Every
try,
time I think of that movie, though, I think that it's Jason
in a
Bateman, and then
bid
you
to
have to be like,
try and
no, it's not.
in a bid to try and make him feel better and resuscitate their friendship, they take him up to this old ski lodge that they used to go to when they were kids, and they party in this hot tub, which turns out to be a hot tub time machine. They really want to hammer home that point. They call it the hot tub time machine multiple times, and they wind up going back in time. The adults, John Cusack, Rob Corddry, and Craig Ferguson or Craig Robinson all get put into the bodies of their younger selves, while Clark Duke remains, he's just himself because he doesn't have a body there. And they feel like, in order to prevent the time space continuum from falling apart, that they all have to do the things that they did when they were there before. So, in the case of Craig Robinson's character, that's having sex with a groupie. John Cusack has to break up with a girl and get stabbed in the face with a fork. And Rob Corddry has to get his ass kicked. And yeah, it's all right. It's funny. The time
And then
travel.
doesn't the one guy by the end of the movie fuck everything up, and he like invents Google?
Yeah, he ends up staying back in the past, and he uses his
Google.
yeah he uses his the knowledge of of the future to become rich. And one of the things is he creates Google. And the big twist is that it turns out that Clark Duke is his son because he slept with his mom when they were at the ski lodge. Um,
Google.
but it's one of those movies where it's like you're not meant to. It's a comedy. You're not meant to think about it. But like, there's just so many questions. Like, okay, so like, what happened to young Lou? Like they go back in time and they inhabit the bodies of their younger selves. Where did the consciousness of the younger selves go? Did they just like disappear? Like so like how come they don't have this like blank spot in their memory where they just blacked out for 5 days?
Because it's a comedy and you're not meant to think too much about it. Shut up.
But then it's like causal time travel where he goes to the future and Lou's mess with the timeline to give them all better futures. And I do appreciate it's like a time travel movie where at the end of it they've misused time travel, but it just benefits them. I mean, the sequel they do it where I think they undercut it by having it be like, nah, actually it wasn't like perfect. But I did enjoy that at the end of this one. They're like, yeah, they use time travel to benefit themselves, and nothing bad happened to them. Like their lives are inherently more awesome by the fact that he stayed behind and made their lives better, like measurably
Yeah.
better.
He Back to the Future them.
Yeah, exactly. Um, but
Because Marty McFly, his family is not the same by the end of it as they are in the beginning. He very much benefits himself.
right? And also Rob Corddry is pretty good. He's annoying. Like I just he's one of those. He's like Danny McBride, where I just generally don't. He tends to annoy me, but he has kind of an understated performance as that guy who's like, yeah, he's clearly depressed and he's clearly burying his pain. At the end, when you finally get to see him experience it, it's really fun. Uh, the chemistry between the four leads is honestly really good. Yeah, it's a good movie. I enjoyed it. Hot Tub Time Machine. Worth checking out. Jordan, it's time for main report.
Main report.
Main report. Main report.
So, my first one. It's funny you talked about Groundhog Day movies because I watched Groundhog Day.
Groundhog Day. We're doing a Groundhog Day because now we're talking about Groundhog Day.
You know that movie where Bill Murray plays a character who, for most of the movie, is just the worst.
Yeah.
And then he manipulates the people in the time loop because there's no consequences. So he just does whatever he wants and presumably lives 1,000 lives. He tries to kill himself multiple times. It's a romp, Justin.
He lives like what 10,000 years, I think. If you got the Wikipedia article open up, there was something about um like someone calculated exactly how old he is, and I can't remember how long it is.
My thing that I don't, I've never, they don't explain, as far as I remember anyway, they don't explain in the movie. And how does he end up in a time loop?
I think there's a
Why does he end up in the time loop?
I think
Who's punishing him?
in
Is it Is it the groundhog? Is it the insurance broker who he pisses off in the first part? Does he curse him?
I thought, well, there's a fan theory I think that he does. I think, if I recall, again, you have the Wikipedia article open, but I believe there's a deleted scene which he befouls a psychic woman, or there's a deleted scene that offers some explanation that's in the novelization. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I might be mistaken. I'm willing to admit that. Jordan, fact check me. Fact check me live.
I'm looking. I'm looking at the analysis part of the Wikipedia article because it says time loop direction. The duration of Phil's real time entrapment in the time loop has been the subject of much discussion. Ramis once said he believed the film took place over 10 years. When a blogger estimated the actual length to be approximately 9 years, Ramis disputed that estimate and his own. He replied that it takes at least 10 years to become good at an activity, such as Phil learning ice sculpting and to speak French, and allotting for the downtime and misguided years he spent, it had to be more like 30 or 40 years. A similar estimate suggests that it takes at least 10,000 hours of study to become an expert in a field. Uh, and given the number of loops seen or mentioned on screen and how long Phil could spend per day studying, that Phil spent approximately 12,400 days or nearly 34 years trapped in the loop.
It's a long time.
In Rubin's original concept draft, Phil himself estimates that he has been trapped for between 70 and 80 years, having used books to track the passage of time.
All right.
I don't see anything about deleted scenes on the Wikipedia. I'm too lazy to go to actual Google and look it up. But
all right.
what I
respect
will
it.
say is that because I want to
There's a
see
musical.
uh it had a budget of 4.6 to 30 million, and it had a box office of 105 million.
Say that again.
It had a budget of between 14.6 to 30 million,
Okay.
and it had a box office of 105 million.
Big hit.
Um, and it's fun. It's a lot of fun. Um, Definitely, I can see why it's so well regarded.
Fair. Fair. Fair.
Do you have any thoughts about Groundhog Day?
No, that's it for me for Groundhog Day. Shall we move on?
It's a real Groundhog's Day, you know.
It's a real
Now,
classic.
is it Groundhog Day or Groundhog's Day?
I believe it's Groundhog Day.
Justin, fact check me right now. And
Uh,
by me I mean yourself.
I don't want to. I'm just gonna assume I'm right. I'm not gonna bother.
All right, I respect that.
Jordan, is that it?
What's your first half scene, Justin?
My first half scene, Jordan, is a movie called Butterfly Effect, or The Butterfly Effect, I believe, starring a punked himself, Mr. Ashton Kutcher. And I really like this movie a lot. It's one of my favorite movies because when I was a kid, I read the book, the novelization, which is back in the day. For people who don't know, back in the day, they used to take early draft versions of the script and they'd sell them as the official novelization. And I could get this one from the library, and I really liked it for some reason. I read it a few times. So I did that before I watched the movie, and then I watched the movie. And for those of you who have never seen The Butterfly Effect, it's about Ashton Kutcher is Evan Treborn. When he's a kid, he has a lot of traumatic events in his life. Like when he was a kid, he had his dad's friend was a creepy, gross guy who did bad things to kids, and the girl he liked as a kid, brother, is a psycho who kills his dog, and yeah, and he has these blackouts where he can't remember what happened. Well, then it turns out in the future, Jordan, in the present day, that's because Ashton Kutcher has the ability to, when he reads his journals, to travel back in time and
Right.
inhabit the body, similarly to the last one I just talked about, inhabit the body of his younger self, which causes him to black out. But with the hiccup that, depending on what he changes when he goes back, when he has to reabsorb the memories, he gives him really bad headaches that causes his brain to become damaged. because he's trying to upload several years worth of memories into his brain all at once. Is any of this ringing any bells to you?
Um, it's one of those ones where I'm aware that I watched it, but it's been so long, and I think I only watched it once.
It's got my favorite character is the guy from Boy Meets World, who plays Frankie in Boy Meets World, is in it. Ethan Suplee,
Oh yeah,
but it's like pre weight loss, and I just love how he's like he has this like really he's really good with women just because he's so charismatic, and the movie's like yeah he's just this giant scary guy, um, and just the performances from the supporting cast like Amy Smart plays the love interest. Um, the guy he ironically he's in Daredevil. He's Foggy Nelson on Daredevil. He plays Ashton Kutcher's best friend Kenny, and he plays a bunch of different versions of Kenny across multiple timelines. And
did they die?
they no, well, it depends on the timeline. Some of them, a lot of them are fucked up because of choices that Evan has made, and it's really
But
demonstrated over the course of the
but
movie.
does anyone ever say, "Oh my God, you killed Kenny"?
No, no one says that.
And
No,
then a second additional character screams, "You
no,
bastards!"
Jordan, this is the South Park. It's a movie
Oh,
about time travel. Um,
could have been a
And
reference.
yeah, the performances by the supporting cast is really good. Ashton Kutcher's all right. The time travel mechanic, it mostly makes sense. It's mostly like a paradox free time travel for the most part. Like it doesn't make a ton of sense because it's like okay, there's a couple moments where like he has a blackout and it turns out that's him from the future. We see that represent from the future versions of him's perspective later in the movie. But then there's other times where it doesn't make any sense. Where it's like, okay, he blacks out here, but like his like it still plays on, and then later on, when he goes back there, it changes like drastically. So it kind of so later in the towards the middle point of the movie, you find out that this is a genetic ability that the dad can also do this. He can also travel through time. But the kicker with him is he uses pictures. So how he travels through time is he focuses on pictures really hard. Then he travels back to the past, and it's implied or it feels like at one point maybe there was a subplot where they like kind of gave the dad more of a backstory because there's a bit. Okay, so this movie has two endings. There's the theatrical cut, which is Evan goes back in time. He, long story short, he goes back in time a bunch of times, and the more times he goes back in time, the more his brain gets messed up, and the more the timeline gets messed up. And it doesn't matter how much he helps, things get worse and worse. And so he gets to a point where he winds up in a timeline where he accidentally kills the girl back in the past. So he's in a mental hospital, and there's now no journals for him to use to travel back in time. And
Oh no.
he uses now completely contrary to how his abilities have worked up until this point. Watches like a film and travels back in time that way, even though like that's the one thing the movie's
I
confusing
mean,
on how his powers work. Like sometimes it's like he needs to read the journals out loud, other times he can just read them in his head. It's really confusing.
um, yeah, the traveling back through a thing definitely makes me think of Life is Strange, where she uses photographs like go
Yeah,
back.
um,
So that probably took an inspiration from this.
probably. And so then so yeah, he uses this video to go back in time, which is confusing because it's never been established. It's been established that like, his powers work with the letters, so his powers are now completely different. But depending on the version, the ending now changes. So in the theatrical cut, he goes back in time and he essentially tells the girl to piss off because earlier in the movie, basically the girl stays with the dad who does bad things to kids, and he abused them, whatever. And in every timeline, she stays with the dad because she likes the Ashton Kutcher's character, and so her life winds up all messed up depending on the timeline. Same with the brother. Um, so he goes back in time and tells her to fuck off, basically. And because they're never friends, she goes with the mom, and her life winds up perfectly fine, and she's perfectly fine. And the movie ends with it being like, oh, he sees her on the street, and they just kind of walk off, and they never talk to each other again. And then there's just more.
So you're saying it's a bad ending.
It's not a happy ending. Ultimately. And then there's the director's cut, and that's the version of it. I've never seen the director's cut, but in the director's cut, there's an additional scene where Ashton Kutcher and his mom go to see a psychic, and the psychic looks at his lifeline, and is like, "You were never meant to be born." And so then at the end of it, when he decides to go back in time, he goes back in time to when he was a fetus in his mom's womb. And the mom that cut and that mentions earlier that like how she had all these stillborns and how he was her miracle baby. So he goes back in time to when he was in the womb and chokes himself to death, so he dies.
That's fucked up.
And then everyone just turns out to have a better life as a result of that. And it's sort of I've seen a few readings of this ending, and a couple of them are interesting. One of them was that she mentions all the different stillborns, and that it passes this ability passes from male to male. So every one of those stillborns was a life that was lived that ultimately came back and decided to end the curse. And then
Interesting.
I was like, oh, I read that completely differently. I read it as he was a result of the dad going back in time, because basically it's implied that the dad had the same trajectory as Evan did, where he just kept going back in time, to where between timelines he couldn't keep details straight, and everyone thought he went insane, and that's why he's in the mental hospital. And so it's implied that the same thing is happening with Ashton Kutcher's character. So my interpretation was that the dad went back in time to prevent the mom from having the miscarriage, and basically created Evan, and Evan is not supposed to exist, and it's the universe self-correcting itself.
That makes a lot of sense. But it depends on your version of time travel. Some versions of time travel, the universe doesn't care.
Yeah, this is one where it's confusing, because it's like it's one of the ones where like it doesn't seem to be instantaneous. Like he goes back to the present and he experiences all the memories of his previous life, and he catches up to that moment, and he just remembers everything, except for like one moment which doesn't make any sense, and it's the only time the time travel doesn't work, where he's in the prison. Oh, it's Kevin Durand, who you know, but he's Little John in Robin Hood. He's in Mexican Face, and it's kind of bad. But he's trying to convince him to help him, and he goes back. There's a moment early on. He goes back to when he's a kid, and he like whacks his hand on these spikes, and in the present day he starts to develop scars in real time, and it's like that's not how the time travel has been established as working in this universe. So like that doesn't make any sense. Otherwise,
Right.
it's I think it's severely underrated. I really do. I think that at the time, Ashton Kutcher was like in the middle of doing that '70s show, and I think people were like, that was
Hard
the
having a hard time seeing him as something
yeah,
else.
yeah. And I always thought that this movie was way better than people gave it credit for. It does get a little comically dark with how tragic the characters' backstories are a little bit, but I genuinely think the performances are like genuinely quite good, and I think the concept is interesting, and it more or less works.
Okay.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it. That's all. That's the whole caboodle.
That's the whole caboodle. Next thing, Jordan.
Yeah. So I was reading a little bit of the Wikipedia for this one, and I learned some things which was interesting, but I watched. This was recommended by Lingerie and Literature, Allie, friend of the podcast.
Friend of the
Um,
pod.
The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, the 2006 movie. Yeah, the 2006 Japanese animated science fiction romance film. Um, which I found out today that it is a loose sequel, the 1967 novel of the same name by
Sequel.
I'm gonna butcher this name. Yasutaka Tsutsui.
So a sequel, not
Um,
a adaptation.
no, it's
Huh.
a loose sequel.
Huh.
It shares the basic premise, but with a different story and characters than the novel.
Huh.
And apparently, her aunt in the movie is the protagonist of the original story.
Oh, interesting.
Um, and
Very
then
interesting.
to further make things interesting, um, Makoto is voiced by Rilza Naka, who would later portray, I'm assuming that's in the Japanese version, um, who would later portray Makoto's cousin, Akari Yoshiyama, the protagonist of the 2010 live action film Time Traveler, The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, which follows a different story.
Huh. How interesting. Isn't
Um,
this the one where she discovers that she can travel through time and then she meets a boy from the future?
the boy from the future had been her friend for a while, and she finds out that he's from the future, and he's like, you have found out that I'm from the future. I have to go away now. Bye."
Bye.
And then she's all like, "Oh no, I've wasted the time travel power from the weird thing on frivolous things, and now the person that I actually like, I avoided talking to him about our feelings because I didn't know how to deal with them, but it turns out I do love him." And then she somehow mad because he used his last time travel thing to save her life, or to save these other two characters' lives. It means that she didn't use hers, so she gets her one back, and then she goes back and like to before he disappears, and is like, "I know you're from the future, and I care about you, and don't leave." And then the movie ends with like he's kind of disappeared, but then there's the voiceover of him being like "Wait for me" or "Come for me" or whatever, and she's like, "Okay," and it's
All right.
sweet and it's tender and it's cute. Um, I like this movie. It's slower, like it's more of a slice of life kind of thing. Um, but I think it's cute.
All right. I liked
It's
it.
kind of
I
my
thought it was all right. My thing with it was it's made by the people who make Summer Wars, and I just remember being like I remember like expecting Summer Wars and just being like this is really slow and it's just not doing it for me. It's one of those ones I one day I'll give it a second watch,
it's not Summer
re-examine it.
Wars, and if you're going into it hoping for it to be Summer Wars, you'll be disappointed. But it's good for what it is, which it's again not Summer Wars. It's not the point. That's
It's
not what it's really trying to
it's
be.
not trying to be
Um,
Summer Wars. I mean, it could try to be Summer. It could try a little harder to be Summer Wars.
no, it wants to stand on its own 2 feet, be its own woman.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, it could stand to be a little more like Summer Wars.
No, no. It's decided to stand on its own 2 feet, be its own woman.
If it must.
There's nothing you can do to stop it.
Jordan, is that it for the girl who left
Um,
through time?
yeah. Apparently, all my things this week are very simple, but it's
That
good. I like it.
easy peasy lemon
Um,
squeezy.
maybe we'll get a really long comment when you eventually turn this into videos later from Allie being like, "Here's all the things I love about this movie."
It's a good movie. It's a quality movie.
It's
Um,
good. I really like it, and if anyone is able to get access to it, you should watch it. It's not on anything.
check
I had to
that
find it other ways.
stuff out. Jordan, my
That's my
last
that's my that's my last have seen.
my last half scene of the week, Jordan, is a movie directed by Ryan Johnson, starring Brewster Willis. I don't believe that's his full name, and a Mr. Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I couldn't think of a fun way to say
Jo-
his names.
Joseph, really,
Joseph.
Justin? Come on, you could do better.
I know. I couldn't think of anything to do with Gordon-Levitt either. Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Bruce Willis. It's Looper. Um, to which
Looper.
to which I used to say, I thought it was a mostly paradox-free movie until the end. I was wrong. There's so many paradoxes in this movie. It's riddled with them. But the plot of this thing, very basically, is Joseph Gordon-Levitt is young Bruce Willis, and Bruce Willis is from the future, and he's a special kind of mob hitman who he kills guys who have been sent from the future, and he kills them, and then he takes silver, and then they're removed from the future because it's really hard to dispose of the body in the future. And then if the mob decides that they want to get rid of you, they send you back in time and you kill yourself, and then you live for like 30 years, and then they capture you and then they send you back in time, and then that's closing your loop. And Bruce Willis, he does that in the one timeline, but in the other timeline, in the one timeline he does it where he closes his loop, but then he falls in love with this Japanese with this Chinese woman, and and he changes the future. So now he escapes and he doesn't get killed. So because there's this really evil mob boss who's this kid who is psychic who sees his mom get killed, and he becomes an evil mob boss who kills his wife. And then the movie at the end is like, but the reason why he becomes evil is because Bruce Willis killed his mom, which then doesn't make any sense because in the original timeline, Bruce Willis didn't kill his mom. So then, did someone else kill his mom in the original timeline? What made it different? Also, there's like moments where like there's a scene where like Paul Dano is Bruce Willis's friend, and he gets captured, and he lets his future self escape. In order to get the future self back, they start like cutting off body parts, and so like they cut off his like finger, like his nose, and just like instantly his like at one point his foot. He's like trying to run, all of a sudden his foot disappears, and it's like, and he acts surprised, like oh my god, I'm losing body parts, but like from his perspective, he would have always not had those body parts
Mm,
because that's how
I can't.
causality.
I can't think of causality right now, Justin. My brain just doesn't.
Cause
I just.
so like the movie is like he's acting surprised that like as though he's just had these body parts cut off, but from his perspective, he would have had those body parts been missing for 25 years,
30 years or
right?
something. Yeah.
Until he dies. But it's like yeah, he wouldn't be surprised by. So it's like oh yeah, there's way more of that, and then I guess it's just the ending is so egregious that it like makes you forget that yeah, there's there's some like paradoxes in here that don't make any sense.
A billion little things.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt is really good. They put him in prosthetics to make him look like Bruce Willis, and he like there's a scene where they're in a diner and like you get them looking at each other, and it's like wow, yeah, he's really nailing it. He's doing an impression that's really quite good, and he's nailing his mannerisms in a way that he looks like a young Bruce Willis. I believe that there's a really funny like they do a montage of like what he did between being Joseph Gordon-Levitt and becoming Bruce Willis, and there's a funny transition from when it goes to being Gordon-Levitt to Bruce Willis, where he still has hair, but it's like random tufts of hair just like sticking out of his head from random spots, and it looks terrible. It's clearly like a bad like glue job to make it look like he kind of has hair. It's so funny. Um, but yeah, it's all right. It's an all right time travel movie. It's pretty all right, Jordan. Next,
I got the yawns.
Jordan,
Okay.
have not seen Jordan.
Have not seen. So, how do I tackle this one? First
How
one
indeed.
is See You Yesterday. It was on Netflix, and it came out in 2019, and it takes place in New York.
New
Uh,
York, concrete.
and the two main characters and their families are all African American, um, and the two main characters have been working on time travel for school projects, yeah, okay.
All
But
right, all right, yeah, okay.
um, but in the beginning part, there's a beginning part where Michael J. Fox shows up as their teacher, and he's trying to basically talk her out of it, and is like, "You should work on something more sensible." Um, and the scene ends with like her walking away. Basically, he's like, "I know you guys borrowed some stuff from the science lab. Just make sure that it comes back in one piece." And she wanders off to go and continue working on their time machine thing, and Michael J. Fox's character looks at the camera and is like, "Time travel, great Scott,"
So
which is funny.
what is the time travel mechanic in this thing? Is it a
They
time
create,
machine?
yeah, it's basically a time machine, but it only lets them go back like I believe it's like one day or so into the past.
Okay, I mean
What
that's reasonable and
24
useful.
24 hours. It
That's
allows them
useful.
to do 24, or at least in the beginning it's 24. I think maybe by the end it's a little bit more, but um
I'm just saying that's a
and
useful amount of time.
so over the course of the movie, because in the beginning part, basically Michael J. Fox's character is like, how do you decide what you do, like what things you can and can't change, what makes it okay versus not okay, right? So the first thing they do, being, young and stupid, is she wants to go back, the main girl wants to go back and basically um fuck with her ex. Um and then at a certain point in the movie, her brother is killed by a racist police officer, a racist white police officer. Um, and so then the rest of the movie is about using their time machine to save him and stop his death from happening. And so then at one point they go back, and her they're two friends, and the one friend dies, and so then her and the brother is alive then, but her friend is dead, and so then they go back again, or she goes back again to save her friend and also try to save her brother, but then the brother ends up dying again. And then you remember how earlier you talked about movies that don't have an ending?
Yeah.
This movie does not have an ending. It just stops.
Oh,
Let me
that's
just
annoying.
I'm gonna go to the little plot synopsis here or whatever and read what it says for the ending here. Spoiler alert for anyone who wants to watch this movie, but I have to. Um, I'll read this last little bit. Uh, he's sacrifices himself as CJ and Sebastian escape. Back in the present, Sebastian confronts CJ and demands to know how many times she's gone back. She admits that the previous attempt was the fourth time and that he had died on the third. He forbids her to try again, but she travels a fifth time. Back in time and alone, CJ breaks into a run.
What? That's not an ending.
That's not an ending. It ends with her going back in time to try and fix everything for a fifth time and just kind of stops.
It's not an ending. It's just, she
It's
doesn't
not
learn the value of not going back in time and messing with the past.
it's not an ending.
That doesn't sound like an ending.
It feels to
I was
me
waiting for you
like
to say an ending and then you didn't.
we cut out the final act of
It
this
kind of
movie
sounds like that's what it sounds like. It sounds like yeah, like you've cut out the final act of this movie.
where she goes back and ultimately realizes and accepts that she can't save her brother and time travel can't solve all your problems and it's not practical. Like it feels like we've missed that solid resolution.
Right?
Like at the end of this movie, she doesn't learn not to go above her friend's head and do what she wants anyway. No, she just does it and then we stop.
And the movie just kind of stops. That sounds frustrating and annoying.
Like it was literally one of those like they're in the garage and he's like forbidding her to do this and she's like sorry, and like I've glanced down at my phone and I look up and there's credits playing
You're like, wait,
and
what happened?
I'm like wait, what? Wasn't she just like slamming the garage on him and gonna go back in time again? And I go back and I watch it and it's like, yeah, she does, and then it basically stops with her there. Like, are they thinking they're gonna get a sequel?
Is there a
Is that where the
sequel?
se- is that where the I don't, not that I know of,
Was there gonna be
but
a
like
sequel? Is there like a
this Wikipedia article is not very helpful, so
is there like another like straight to Netflix sequel?
let's see if I can find out. See you yesterday sequel?
Question
Question mark?
mark? Question
Has
mark?
not See You Yesterday 2019 has not had a sequel, but some fans have called for one. The movie ends on a cliffhanger similar to Back to the Future, not similar to Back to the Future. Back to the Future, that is not a cliffhanger. A cliffhanger is at least an ending.
Right?
This is
Okay.
not an ending.
He's still
Back to the Future, he goes back to the future. It could end there, and then sure, Doc Brown shows up at the end to tease something coming next, but like
this
it
doesn't
has an
it doesn't
ending.
feel like the last 20 minutes of the movie are just missing. Which
Fans have expressed frustration with the ending, which is not an ending. It's not an ending.
it's not an ending.
That's not an ending. That's ultimately my summation for this movie is if you like your movies to have an ending, you probably shouldn't watch this one because it doesn't have an ending.
Would you like your movies?
Justin, future Justin, if you can just put the ending there,
I
that would be
will.
great.
I will if it's on YouTube. We'll try our best. It's not an ending.
The lack of an ending.
The lack of an ending.
That's but that's this is the point where I've hit my ending of things that I have to say about See You Yesterday.
All right. My next one, my first one that I hadn't seen, is a movie based on a really old book, which I looked at the date. It's like the 1800s. It's a book called The Time Machine. A movie called The Time Machine. Um, and it's one of those. It's written by H.G. Wells, which I'm hoping that name will sound familiar to you.
H.G. Wells, The Time Machine.
Yeah,
Yeah, he didn't. I do recognize the name.
you would recognize it from Back to the Future 3. But he did Around the World in 80s. Oh, no, wait, maybe that's Jules Verne.
No, yeah, Jules Verne is the disappearing. That's where I was like, I was gonna say the disappearing island, 40,000 Leagues Under the Sea,
Yeah, I think I
and then
might.
I was like, no, no, that's James or Jules Verne. That's a very different person.
Yeah, I think I'm confusing him with Jules Verne. But regardless, he's one of those like old timey like man from like Elizabeth like an era like makes a mysterious machine that is capable of doing anything kind of movies.
Okay,
You
I
would
respect that.
you recognize it from that one episode of Big Bang Theory where they buy the time machine.
Yes, yes, I do. And other shows have made fun of it, like Phineas and Ferb
Yeah, and
and
yeah,
Futurama.
it's really dumb. He basically he he's in love with he's a scientist and he's in love with this girl and it's like yeah Victorian Elizabethan era kind of world and this the girl ends up getting killed during a mugging gone wrong and he after 5 years of isolation creates a time machine and goes back in time to when she dies and prevents her from dying but she still dies anyway in like a carriage incident. So then he determines that that means that the past can never be changed, even though he only tried once. Like it, I mean, you're making this case off of one try. Maybe if you tried a couple of times, I could be like, all right, but you really only tried like once, and then you gave up like a quitter, just a
Like a
quitter,
bitch.
like a bitch. Like you just gave up like a little quitter. So then he goes to the future where this really weird scene happens where he runs into this like AI computer person who like has all of the information on the universe and he finds like he has the time machine in his databanks. So he's like, "Oh, look up the Time Machine by H.G. Wells." So the Time Machine by H.G. Wells exists in the same universe as the movie The Time Machine, based on the book by H.G. Wells in our universe.
So is it that they took inspiration from the book and that's where they got the idea for the machine, or
I don't. I have no idea. It's just a scene where he just shows up in the future, and the computer's like, "Yeah, the Time Machine by H.G. Wells. Yep, that exists." I was like, "That's weird." And so then,
or or did this time machine go back in time to H.G. Wells and he saw it and that's where he got the inspiration for the story, which is a bootstrap where now the story
yeah, I don't
got the
know.
inspiration. It just
And so then,
okay.
the doctor, he asks the computer, "Oh, why can the past never be changed?" And the computer says, "Because it's impossible to travel to the past." And he's like, "That's not helpful to me." So then he travels even further to the future, where humans have regressed to like almost a caveman state, where they have their own language, and he falls in love uh, with a girl from that era. Um, oh my god, I just watched it. It's just that forgettable. And he does he ends up basically he ends up not going back, which differs from the original ending of the original story, where like he goes back and he just takes over for the version of him that left in the first place, thus completing the loop. And it's the first instance of a time machine. Basically, it's where the notion of the time machine comes from. So to be like, oh, and it's not really concerned about it. Does it builds it makes the case that you can never change time. That time is that's the like the gargoyles idea of time travel, of time as a river. It will always find a way to correct itself.
Self-correct.
Yeah, it's that kind of time travel
Um,
story,
okay.
and it's
So
all right.
did you like it?
I did. It's yeah. I thought it was fun. There's a the dichotomy of the two types of people in the future are they're weird. You can definitely see it's very much that kind of story where it's a guy who just they never explain how the time machine works or how any of it works, and it doesn't feel like it's supposed to matter.
I understand.
That's it. That's the
I
time machine.
understand.
It's all
Do you have
right.
anything else?
I didn't think I mean it's not reviewed well. I thought it was all right. I didn't think it was like spectacular. It didn't blow me away.
Do
Nothing
you have
this week blew me away.
any final thoughts about the time machine?
No, that's it.
Okay. I'm gonna move on to my final have not seen, which I don't get. Um, it's the Tomorrow War, and it doesn't make sense to me.
That I hear that movie's not very good.
It doesn't make sense to me. It just so okay.
Isn't it like they come back from the future to recruit
So
people from the past to fight in a war
yeah,
in the
yeah.
future?
So I'm gonna talk through this, and you're gonna help me see the logic here.
Okay.
So um, it's in the movie. It's December 2022, and soldiers from the year 2051 through a time portal come back in time to warn 2022 people that aliens have shown up and basically wiped out all that, like most of humanity. 20% have survived, right? Now, they have future technology, and their plan is to take people from the past to fight in the future. But now, if those people in the past go fight in the future and die, then I mean, I don't imagine that they're keeping track of families and bloodlines. And so though that 20% of humanity that has survived might just disappear when their ancestors come to the future and get killed. So you have time traveling can go back in time to before any of the aliens show up. Why are you not going back there and reinforcing the past and preparing them Like, why are you bringing the past to the future to fight the future problem? Why are you not bringing the future to the past to preemptively set up the past
Yeah.
so that they have all the things that they need to make sure that things go well if and when the aliens do show up?
Yeah, that does make sense. Like, why not go back in time and give the past people future weapons? Here's a
Yeah,
laser gun from 30 years from now. Lizard aliens are gonna show up. Good luck. This is gonna help you
like,
out
like
tremendously.
just I mean, just for me, like the idea that, like, yeah, again, like, unless I missed a part where they mention how they've been keeping track of family lines to make sure that they don't recruit anyone that is currently alive so that they don't kill their own ancestors. Like, unless I missed the part where they said that in the movie, that kind of feels like a big glaring problem with your plan of bringing people from the past.
Why would you not go to the future? I mean, surely in the future they have even better future guns.
Well, I mean, no, these aliens have extinguished all but 20% of humanity. There is no future.
Yeah, but maybe
Um,
maybe
they,
in the
they, they,
future.
they have to go to the past, but they also, like, as far as they knew, like, the aliens showed up at this one point, like in a period in time. So again, you've gone back to before they were there.
Yeah, yeah.
Even
Your
like,
logic is sound. Your logic is sound.
we end up finding out, um, in the future, the main character's daughter, Chris Pratt's daughter, future daughter, gives him this biological thing which will kill the aliens. And then they do reason and figure out that the aliens are frozen under Russia and they go and like preemptively destroy them. So the people from the past were smart enough to think of this, but the people who invented and created like
So
a
it's
way
no
of
wonder they killed you guys all
traveling
off. Yep.
traveling to the past. Yeah, I'm just saying, like, it's just as I was watching this, that was really my big thing.
You guys are all very
Was I was like,
stupid. You're all so
why are
stupid.
you why are you bringing these people to the future to fight against things that have already destroyed 80% of humanity?
Right? Right?
Like,
Right?
there's no version of that to me which makes sense.
Right?
I'm not wrong.
You're not wrong.
Anyone in the audience who's seen this movie, or anyone who has Prime, go watch this movie and try to convince me I'm wrong. You won't, but I want to see you try to convince
Because
me that I'm wrong.
I'm not wrong.
I'm not wrong.
I'm
It makes no sense.
not wrong.
Again, unless there's a line, apparently there's a sequel in development. Um, I don't know how.
You come from a further,
It
further future, Jordan. I'm from a further, further, further future.
like they killed the thing and they prevented the future war from happening.
Now it's in
How do you? I guess maybe
another future war, Jordan.
there's. I, I don't know. Maybe, yeah. Maybe something worse happens. I don't know. Don't know how you do a sequel for that. But yeah, it's not very good. Apparently, it was
I heard it
going to
wasn't
be a
very good.
apparently it was going to be a it was set for theatrical release by Paramount Pictures,
Yep,
and then
this I knew.
the film's distribution rights were acquired by Amazon because of COVID-19.
Yeah, and then it got shoved onto streaming, and then it reviewed
Holy!
very poorly.
It had a budget of, okay, judging from my whistle that I did. Do you want to take a stab
I'm gonna guess
at the
five
budget?
hundred million.
No, not quite that much. It
Hundred
was
million.
200. It had a budget of 200 million.
Oh, I was close.
Had a box office of 19.2 million, which I don't know how it had a box. I guess maybe they did a limited release eventually, I'm guessing.
I'm guessing.
Um, but apparently it's one of the most expensive films to debut on a streaming platform.
Yeah, yeah, I knew that. That I knew. There's no way to measure metrics, so it's no way to tell if it made money or not.
Uh, Box office, audience viewership, accolades, sequel. On July 8th, 2021, it was reported by that Skydance and Amazon were in discussions to produce a sequel. Does it say anything about what it would be? McKay revealed that he would like for the sequel to expand the world building and explore more concepts that could be used for the characters' further adventures. with one of them being the origins of the white spikes.
All right.
Interesting.
All right. Interesting. Jordan, is there anything else you have to say about that movie that we just talked about?
It's not very good.
No, I've heard it's not very good. I've heard it's quite
Um,
bad.
Bad's a strong word. Mediocre,
Okay.
fine,
Fine.
stupid,
All right.
stupid, stupid things, stupid people in it that make stupid decisions.
Oh, the stupid people. So, Jordan, my final one. Allie recommended another movie. It was a movie called Timeline that she wanted to, quote, see us pull apart. And I will inevitably probably turn this into its own YouTube video so she doesn't have to comb through 2.5 hours of podcast to do so. Um,
Huzzah!
Huzzah! Uh, Now, okay. Um, I think probably she expected me to think this movie was bad, and it kind of is. So here's what this movie's about. So a company is sponsoring an archaeological dig of these archaeologists because through experimentation and attempting to transport items, they tapped into a wormhole which allows them to access one incredibly specific moment in time. Uh, France, I think it's France in the 1400s. But this one very specific like battle between the English and the French, where they're fighting each other over this one specific village, and they can go back to this one specific moment. And Paul Walker from Fast and Furious, his dad, Bill Connolly, the Scottish guy you would recognize if you heard his voice, um, he has gone back in time. So Paul Walker, Gerard Butler, a girl, and a French guy, and I think that's it. All have to go back in time to find Paul Walker's dad.
Okay.
Hijinks ensue, and it's kind. I will say I did appreciate that when they go back in time in order to avoid like although ultimately it becomes weird because it doesn't matter. But in order to avoid like changing the timeline too badly, they all have to wear like period accurate clothing and remove anything from the future. They do eventually because the whole inciting incident is they find the dad's glasses and like a note carved into like an ancient what you call it
Thingamajigger?
artifact. And the one guy's like, did someone do this in
Thingamajigger.
modern time? Like, no, it's carbon dated for like 600 years ago. It's like, that's impossible. It looks like it's your dad's handwriting. He's like, your dad knows that like he would never like desecrate like such an artifact like this. And it's from like a long time ago. And it's one of those movies where it's trying to make archaeology like hot and sexy and cool and awesome and
Oh,
fun.
so it's an Indiana Jones.
Kind of, but like it's Gerard Butler at like the peak of his youth, so he's young and sexy and he's hot and it's Paul Walker and he's like it's a different kind of sexy. I know. I immediately went, no, it's Indiana Jones. I'm like, no, but it's like a different kind of
A new
like
a new age
yeah, like
sexy.
a male model sexy.
He's too sexy
Um,
for his shirt. Too sexy for his shirt. Too
and
sexy
and
it.
so early in the movie, Gerard Butler finds this like tomb of this knight, and midway through the movie he realizes that he's the knight that he found the tomb, and so it's his destiny to stay back in time and to become this knight that they found this tomb. And it's really weird because it's like it's such a specific moment in time that I'm sure if you're familiar with 13th to 14th century French English wars, this might be doing it for you, but it's not really doing anything for me. I will say I really enjoy Gerard Butler. He's like weirdly charming in this movie, and he's young. It's like a young Gerard Butler, but he's got this weird like he's that kind of like charming, handsome dude that you just like want to hate. You know, where it's like you want to hate him so bad. You're like, I hate you because you're handsome, and it's obnoxious. And you're like, but he's just so nice. Why is he so nice?
Girls want to hate him, men want to be him.
Right? You're like, you're just so charming, effortlessly charming. I hate it. I
He's
hate you.
he's such a Chad.
Yeah, exactly. Ugh. Um, and yeah, it's the time travel doesn't make a ton of sense. That there's a point where like it's written by the guy who wrote Jurassic Park, and so it has that bit. You know, in Jurassic Park, it has that bit where the park gets struck by lightning and all the security systems shut down.
Yeah, yeah.
So like it does that thing because it's a Michael Crichton story where like yeah it comes into an already established world mechanically. So just like Jurassic World, they know how the technology works. Like they have an idea. They've done this before. There's a really funny bit where they're about to go back in time. He's like, oh yeah, incidentally, this is incredibly painful and it's gonna hurt like a lot. I didn't tell you because I thought it might dissuade you. Good luck. Um, and yeah, so it's similar to Jurassic Park in that it's like, oh yeah, they've already done this a bunch. It's like Jurassic Park where they've already cloned the dinosaurs, they've set up the infrastructure, and then something goes wrong. So in this case, one of the security guys who goes with them gets shot with an arrow and accidentally teleports back to the past because they all have a send you back device, but because it's a movie, there has to be a reason for why it doesn't work. It only works
Uh,
in a.
Ju- Justin, you call it a back in time device. I call it the magical MacGuffin.
Well, no, it's the device that lets them go back to the future.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
magical MacGuffin.
basically, yeah. And so like, so there's a point where like, oh yeah, because that's convenient. And it's like they can't use it unless they have 38 feet worth of distance, so they can't just use it anywhere.
You can't use it except for under these very specific circumstances, which will never pop up except for at hour 1:53
Right?
and 47
And so
seconds.
the whole thing is they've got like 5 hours to find this professor before they have to come back, which is enough of a ticking clock on its own. But then they add this additional unnecessary like ticking clock that is completely pointless. Of like, so the security guy gets shot with arrows, he gets teleported back to the present, and he accidentally blows up the return pad. So now they have to fix the return pad on top of like them having to come back, which again is completely redundant because the 5 hours is it's a literal ticking clock. It's already enough of a ticking clock, so the additional ticking clock is completely unnecessary and doesn't really add any additional drama in a way that's like interesting, like at all. It's very very bizarre. Um, and then yeah, and then after that happens, like, oh, we might not be able to connect to the wormhole in the way. This wormhole exists in this specific moment in this specific time, so we can't tap into it again. And it's like a lot of like, it's a movie where it's a lot of like, oh, well, that's convenient. Oh, well, that's convenient. Yeah, it's a lot of like shit that it just doesn't make sense. Um,
There's no logic to it.
like for whatever reason, so the dad who gets trapped back in time. Oh yeah, so early on in the movie, um, Paul Walker's in it, and the dad is Scottish, and Gerard Butler's in it. He's Scottish, but Paul Walker isn't for whatever reason, and so he's
Isn't
there.
isn't Paul Walker famously American?
He's very famously American. He's not Scottish like at all, and so then he's talking to Paul Walker. And he's like, "Oh, you're only hanging around because you like this girl." And there's no indication that he's gonna be leaving or going anywhere. And then just in like the next scene, they're like, "Oh yeah, he went back in time and he's disappeared." And it's like, wait, what? But there's no indication that this was something that this character was doing. It felt I had to go back because I was like, and we were already running behind today, but I had to go back because I was like, wait, did I miss him to like say anything to this son about leaving? And I was like, no, no, I didn't. This is just, it's just randomly in the next scene he's just gone, and for whatever reason this like company which is willing to just like let people die is just telling them everything. But then at the end of the movie, they want to like cover it up. It's very confusing. Also, there's an additional subplot of like every time you come back from the past, you go through this wormhole. The concept is it's like the time travel. It breaks you down and then rebuilds you. But in this case, it doesn't rebuild you quite the same every time it rebuilds you. So like you're slightly off. So there's a bad guy that shows up in the back half of the movie.
So it kills you,
It
basically.
slowly kills you, yeah.
It kills you and replaces you with an identical clone, which is a completely different being and isn't the same you.
Pretty much, and it slowly breaks down over time. So, like, at the beginning of the movie, they find a guy, and he's, like, not put together quite right. And so there ends up being this bad guy who captures them and is going to turn them over to the British or whatever. And that Gerard Butler ends up beating. But he's a guy who he's on his, like, it's like you can go like 10 times, and he's on his 10th time. And if he goes back to the present day, his insides will become scrambled and he'll die.
Sounds pretty fucked up, Justin.
And it's just a real dumb movie. It's a real dumb movie, and I understand why Ali recommended it. It's very much a this is before these people were famous kind of movie.
I mean, that's fun sometimes.
Sometimes it's fun, yeah. I really like Gerard Butler in it. Like he did a lot of heavy lifting for me in terms of like allowing me to ignore it. And yeah, the mechanic was dumb, but hey, they explained it. They sure explained it.
Explain the heck out of it.
Explain the heck out of it. So next week, I think last week I was like time.
That's time travel, baby.
That's time travel, baby. And next week, again on Saturday, the show is moving to Saturday assignment time.
Again,
until it moves back to Sunday because that's the preferred day. But it will temporarily for the foreseeable future be on Saturdays again. Last week I gave them the choice of time travel or clones. And they chose time travels, which means next week. And Jordan, here's a fun fact you don't know. A lot of times,
I like fun facts.
A lot of times in our comment section, people ask the question, "Are they clones?" And I'm here to officially confirm, yes, yes, I am. And Jordan, really, the question: who's the clone of who? Are you the more handsome clone of me, or am I the disfigured clone of you? We will never confirm or say otherwise. But to really acknowledge the fact that we are in fact clones of each other, next week we will be doing a cloning-based episode, or doubles. I will allow for use from another universe.
Clones, doubles, replicants.
So long as it's two of the same person, that's all that counts.
And like they don't have to be the same actor. They can be the same person in name.
Gotta be the same actor. There's no way.
Well, I mean, that's where we have to distinguish here because you said earlier, technically we could do Spider-Man 3, but those are all Peter Parker, but different actors.
Oh, yeah, that's fair. No, it's gotta be the same actor. That's the stipulation.
Okay, it's good. We here and now, ladies and gentlemen, we have distinguished this.
That's legal distinguishment. But that's next week. That's next Saturday. Thank you, Ali, for once again for all those fun suggestions, and thank you everyone for leaving those comments on our Harry Potter video. Look forward to more long form video coming out. That's where you guys really seem to tune in. You're not showing up for the streams yet. That's cool.
They tune in, I tune out. It's right. Okay. It's all good.
They like the podcast in short bursts. I understand it. 4 hours sometimes it's hard to digest, or 3 hours, or 2.5 hours. That's difficult to digest. I get it. But yes, check those out midweek. Like those. Leave comments. Leave essay long comments. We like talking about comments. Comment response time is one of my favorite times, especially when they're fun comments.
It's a delight.
It means you guys are engaging. All 90. I want to take this moment to thank our 91 subscribers. You guys sometimes tune in, and every time you do, we appreciate it. We appreciate the comments. We appreciate when you guys can check in for a little while and leave a comment about how we're from the future. That's always fun.
And I want to take this moment and say to our 91 fans, come on, guys, find 9 more people. Push us up to 100.
We need 9 more people, guys. I want to thank our sponsor of the episode,
You
Amazon
can do it.
Prime.
I believe in you. You can do it.
Um, thank you for sponsoring the show. New sponsor is always fun. Jordan, where can the fine folks of the internet, find you when you're not here
I do Minecraft Mondays on Twitch. Deathgore187.
on a Monday?
I it's on a Monday and it's Minecraft. I'm mining, I'm crafting, and it's on a Monday. Um, I do the Spur of the Moment podcast. It used to be Sunday. We're gonna be Saturday. One day will be Sunday again, and then we'll switch back to Saturday, and then it'll be Sunday again. You'll never know exactly which because we like to swipe it up every like 3 to 4 months because Brower is difficult.
See, if people help to get us monetized, and we do this full time as a job where we get paid, or hey, if people want to pay us, let us know in the comments. Um, I can set up a thing where you can pay us if you want, and
Yeah, maybe we'll follow Ali's lead and we'll set up a Patreon.
it's true. Maybe we'll. No, I can't. I was gonna do a joke. I'm not gonna do it. Um,
We're not going to do that, Justin, but
um,
we could set up a
we could,
Patreon.
we could. Um, but yeah, no, yeah. Ideally, when we do this full time, it will remain on Sundays. But for now, yeah, it will periodically switch. Um, moving to Saturday starting next week. Yeah, the show is on TikTok for now until the wheels fall off, and we will continue to be posting on there for however long. Hey, maybe now that the Americans aren't there, more Canadians will see our content. Um,
And to be fair, we might get some British people
we could
too.
get some British people. But I am also on TikTok. I have my own TikTok, Justin Spurr. We're at Spur of the Moment P on TikTok. If you want to be on the show, there's a handy dandy Google form in the description. Join the Discord. The link is now stable. It will not expire, so you can click the link, join the Discord, leave handy suggestions in the Discord. For now, if you join the Discord, you can come be on the show randomly. It's there. It's not blocked off yet. Um, Email the show if you're a sponsor. If you want to sponsor the show, it's justin'sbusiness@gmail.com. So you sponsor it. I think I hit all the Arte Media. Check those guys out. I think that's it. We'll see you guys next week.